Share determination and triumph with USA's exclusive national coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs, only on the USA Cable Network.
The New York Islanders meet the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, tonight on the USA Cable Network.
This is the USA Cable Network.
He scores! The memory of Steve Bozek on that April 10th, of the Los Angeles Kings and their shocking 6-5 overtime victory over Edmonton last year. The memory of losing in the playoffs to a team with 48 fewer regular season points. The memory, the force that has propelled the Oiler machine to an 11-1 record in the playoffs this year. First, it was the Winnipeg Jets, shot down by the potent Oiler artillery. Then the Calgary Flames, smothered beneath a record-breaking goal-scoring blitz. Finally, the Chicago Blackhawks, massacred by an Oiler gang that showed no mercy. The Oiler accomplishments in the playoffs of '83 have been mind-boggling. The Edmonton Oilers are ready for their first ever Stanley Cup final. The New York Islanders are entering their 4th straight Stanley Cup final, but their 1983 playoff parade has seen a few rainy days. Diplomacy was not in vogue when the Islanders took out the neophyte Washington Capitals. The hot New York rivalry simmered down after injuries helped eliminate the Rangers. And just last Saturday, the Boston Bruins provided the toughest playoff competition the New York Islanders had seen in years before they, too, were beaten.
The pressure is just unbelievable. You know, there is so much of a demand on us. You know, it's not like coming in the first year and saying, come on, boys, we might be able to win the cup if we play well. Now it's, if we don't play well, they're ready to throw us out of the building.
The Islanders own the Wales Conference Trophy, the Oilers the Campbell. But the table is not complete without Lord Stanley's special piece of hardware. The battle zone for Game 1 is here in Edmonton, Alberta. The Stanley Cup Finals begin next on USA. Game is brought to you by Lowenbrau. When you want the taste of a truly great beer, there's really only one. Tonight, let it be Lowenbrau. By Mobil 1, synthetic motor oil, the best engine protection you can give your car. By Toyota, who reminds you it's a good feeling to buckle up for safety. And by Levi's, jeans, cords, and shirts. For quality and style you can count on. When the Edmonton Oilers were eliminated last year by Los Angeles, they were not greeted with sympathy. Many vicious things were said about this Oiler team, probably the worst of which was they were weak-kneed wimps. Well, they leave scars, statements like that, and they tend to mature a team very, very quickly because a lot of people felt that the Oilers should have been here last year in the Stanley Cup final. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the hockey capital of North America, Edmonton, Alberta, and Game 1 of the 1983 Stanley Cup Championship Series. I'm Al Troutwig, and I'm very happy to be with you for what many people say is a dream series. The Oilers and the Islanders. These two teams have some similarities. Back in the early 1970s, they struggled to win a game. But then with some smart drafting and shrewd trades, they rose to the top of the hockey world, and that's where they are this year in 1983. So after 900 long NHL hockey games, we are finally down to 2 teams. And there's a lot of excitement about this series, so much in fact that we have representatives from Finland, Sweden, Russia, China, and London, England. And also excited about this series are Dan Kelly and Gary Green with some big news for Islander fans.
Excited is not the word, Al Troutwig. I think this should be a classic Stanley Cup final. The big news you mentioned, Mike Bossy, the high-scoring right winger of the New York Islanders, a late scratch just before the teams took the ice. He's out of the Islander lineup with a case of tonsillitis. It's a day-to-day situation. He could be available for Game 2. Right now, no one is saying. And Gary Green, you have to miss a guy like Mike Bossy when he's out of your lineup.
Do you ever? Especially after that performance in the final game against Boston, Dan. He scores 4 goals. He's a tremendous asset to this Islander hockey club. But I got to think right now that in the Edmonton Oilers dressing room, that probably Dave Hunter is sighing a breath of a relief, I think, because their line was going to be assigned tonight to Trottier, Bossy, and Gillies. And I think that, well, without much question, that is going to really change the situation, the game plan anyway, for Glenn Sather.
And the New York Islanders will have a guy by the name of Wayne Gretzky to take care of. How do you think they'll try and do that?
Well, Al Arbor has said to us this year, Dan, that he has played every center iceman on his hockey club against Gretzky at some time or other, and they have done well. I don't think that Al Arbor will worry about that too much. He knows Gretzky's a great hockey player, but on the other hand, I think that he's just going to make sure he doesn't have last change tonight in this building. I think that he's pretty confident that his hockey club, they all work hard, and they'll have to do that to beat Edmonton.
Here in Edmonton, you hear the roar of the crowd. They're celebrating the Oilers' victory in the Campbell Conference, which won them their way into the Stanley Cup final against the New York Islanders, and they've just lowered the banner signifying the Campbell Conference Championship to the Edmonton Oilers in 1983, and that's what all the cheering is about here at the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton. One other thing, Gary Green, what about the Oilers having 1 whole week's rest coming into this game tonight versus only a couple of days off for the Islanders?
I look at the Edmonton Oilers situation and say that Messier and Charlie Hottie would have been doubtfuls if they had started right away a couple of nights after they played Chicago. On the other hand, they've had some rest now. That's going to mean that they are going to be much more healthy. In the case of the New York Islanders, Dan, nothing like continuing to play. You might be a little bit tired, but you don't lose any momentum. You also keep that flow going. The flow is what possibly could hurt the Oilers, but they don't have too much difficulty skating, so I don't think it will affect them in the long run.
And, of course, the Oilers have home ice advantage, and that's always a big edge.
No question about that. We know through the past decades that the teams with home ice advantage usually win the Stanley Cup playoffs in the series, but that could change. This is going to be a great series.
And you see the exuberance of the hometown folks here in Edmonton, Alberta, as they await the start of this game. Both teams are on the ice, and of course, with the lowering of the Campbell Conference Championship banner, that's fired the people up a little bit in what is usually a very quiet building, but you can feel Stanley Cup fever here, can't you?
No question, Dan. I think this city really needs something right now. As many people have indicated, the economy isn't the greatest. They've had some situations that have caused this city to go downhill somewhat, but not their hockey club. They're excited as all can be, and this is a different building than it was during the course of the regular season. They're a pretty sophisticated hockey crowd in Edmonton. They tend to clap, not yell, but they're yelling right now.
There you see the Campbell Conference Championship banner, and that's why they're cheering and standing here in Edmonton. Back to you in the studio, Al Trautwig.
All right, thank you, Dan Kelly. And so we begin a very exciting series between the Oilers and the Islanders. And I'm sure by now you have your favorite, but certainly it would be no surprise no matter who won this series. And if you don't have a favorite, just flip a coin, because these teams are both very evenly matched. We'll be back to the Northlands Coliseum, which is full tonight, as USA presents the 1983 Stanley Cup Championship Series.
After all, a clean carburetor performs better. It's as simple as that. Mobile detergent gasoline for your everyday driving needs.
Al Trautwig back in Edmonton, Alberta. We're moments away from the face-off between the Islanders and the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Championship Series. Interestingly enough, the Islanders defeated the Edmonton Oilers 3 times in the only 3 meetings that they had this year. They met on October 8th here in Edmonton. The Islanders won 6-4. They met November 16th in New York. The Islanders won 4-2. And then January 30th, the Islanders beat Edmonton again 4-2. And it should be remembered that during that stretch, the Islanders were not playing very good hockey. As a matter of fact, they really didn't play hockey that the Islanders have come to be known for until the latter stretches of the season and actually through the Stanley Cup playoffs. And as Dan and Gary mentioned earlier, we should also keep in mind that the Islanders sweater number 22 will not be worn tonight. Mike Bossy has come down with a case of tonsillitis. Supposedly he came up with that this morning. And right now he is on a day-to-day basis on his availability for the New York Islanders. So the pressure falls on a player by the name of Mats Helin, and it remains to be seen whether he could possibly be a hero in this series. The Islanders have always prided themselves on being able to adapt to whatever game a team wanted to play. Well, the Edmonton Oilers are not the Boston Bruins. There will not be as much digging in the corners of this series. The Islanders are going to have to turn their jets on because the Oilers have lost but one game so far in the playoffs, and they are ready to win the Stanley Cup. Back up to Dan and Gary, and we're ready to go.
Okay, Al Trudwick, and welcome to the 1983 Stanley Cup Finals on USA. The officials for tonight's game, the referee, Andy Van Helleman. The two linesmen, Ron Finn and Ray Scampanello. And the starting goaltenders, the veteran Billy Smith for the New York Islanders. Smith in 13 playoff games this year, and a 3.07 goals against mark, 9 wins. At the other end for the Edmonton Oilers, he's played in every Edmonton playoff game. Andy Moog, 12 games at 2.79 goals against mark, and more wins than anybody in the league this year in the playoffs. 11 wins and only 1 defeat. The Oilers and the Islanders, and we are ready with the 1983 Stanley Cup Final in Edmonton, Alberta, and the Islanders get it. And Dennis Potvin fires the puck into the Edmonton zone. Moog on the boards trying to clear it out. Held in by John Tonelli, who flips it into the corner. Randy Gregg shot it. Tonelli knocks it down, shoots one. Moog got a piece of that. Now Hughes for Edmonton to Ray Cote. He can't clear it. And it's Bob Nystrom, number 23. Nystrom being tied up on the play, clears it into the corner. Now Randy Gregg against John Tonelli. Tonelli centered it, and back comes Hughes for Edmonton. Over onto the wing, and the long shot by Hunter into the corner. Edmonton trying to center one out. Don Jackson knocking it down. Jackson fans on his shot, and here's Trotze, number 19, to John Tonelli. His long shot steered aside by Moog. Wayne Sutter fanned on it, and the Oilers come back. Here's Glenn Anderson, number 9. Anderson with Gretzky trailing. Anderson shoots. Smith the save, and the rebound just cleared in time. A great rush by Anderson. Now Wayne Gretzky out in front. Anderson can't get the shot away, and the Islanders will get a penalty here on the play for hooking. And the Oilers come very close here early in the game. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching Stanley Cup Hockey on USA.
The Coast Guard has been armed and ready for every major conflict.
My father was in the Coast Guard during World War II. He manned a landing craft in the South Pacific.
We're still armed to fight drug smuggling and combat pollution.
The Coast Guard, the women do the same job as the men do, even tough rescues at sea.
To me, the Coast Guard is much more than just an armed service.
Call us toll-free. The Coast Guard, an armed service and more.
6'4" Ken Morrow, a penalty on that last play. He gets a hooking penalty at 1:15, and boy, the Oilers came close to scoring.
Well, we see right there to the left of our screen, Kenny Morrow hooking the great one, number 99, Wayne Gretzky.
So Edmonton with a power play, and a very potent power play. The Oilers work it behind the net to Gretzky. Back to the point to Paul Coffey. His shot wide of the target, and Dennis Potvin has it for New York. Picks an opening, fired it up the middle, and it's knocked down at center ice by Huddy, who flipped it back in, but Stefan Persson has it for the Islanders. The Islanders short-handed, Persson flipping it in. Edmonton on the power play, 13 power play goals in the playoffs. An even percentage of 25% with the man advantage. Here's Coffey trying to pull away from Goring. Left wing pass to Gretzky. Number 99, Gretzky, centered out in front, and it's tipped by Yari Curry over top of the net. Smith may have got a piece of it, I'm not sure, and Dennis Potvin clears it away.
Well, Curry had a good chance. Gretzky right there feeding him that pass. Oilers have had a couple of good chances already tonight, Dan.
Loose puck, Bob Bourne couldn't knock it down, and here's Huddy for Edmonton, dropping it back. A centering pass was in behind Willie Lindstrom. Now Gretzky for the Oilers. To Lindstrom. Willie Lindstrom out in front to Huddy. That shot blocked by Billy Carroll. And then Dave Langevin, back in the Islander lineup after a long absence, clears it down the ice. Into forecheck, the Islanders try and force the play and will succeed in forcing a face-off in the Edmonton zone. Good forechecking by Bob Bourne as we look at Mr. Gretzky.
This game is authorized under television rights granted by the National Hockey League and is presented solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, and other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is strictly prohibited.
Gretzky needs just 1 point, by the way, in the rest of these playoffs to tie Mike Bossy's all-time playoff record for points for 35 in the playoffs. Bossy set that mark in 1981. I'd say Gretzky's a cinch to break that record. Here's Willie Lindstrom. With 30 seconds left in the Islander penalty. The center ice to Lowe, now into Messier. He drops it back. Shot by Lindstrom right on, and Billy Smith made the save and held on to it.
I'm sure that Al Arbour has got plenty of confidence coming into this series of goaltending, and goaltending is going to be an issue. Between Moog and Billy Smith, it's going to be a real battle. But we know one thing, Al Arbour, he knows the money man, Billy Smith, will be ready for action. I'm sure that Smith has tried extra hard to mentally prepare himself for all the shots that he is going to take from this Oiler hockey club.
Now you see Gretzky ready for a face-off against Trottier, two of the very best. This time, Trottier wins it. Potvin clears it, and Trottier flips it down the ice. 15 seconds left in the penalty. The Oilers, so far, have outshot the Islanders 4-2. They've had a couple of good scoring chances. Here's Yari Curry. Number 17, Curry flipping it in. Glenn Anderson in to pick it up. Centered it out in front. It bounced off Billy Carroll. Rolled into the goal crease and then was grabbed by Smith just as Morrow comes back on out of the penalty box. We have no score here in the Stanley Cup Series opener in Edmonton.
Introducing the new front-wheel drive Toyota Camry. It does not have a fireplace, but it does have living room, elbow room, headroom, tow room, family room. For families who are a size above average, for families who like to spread out. There's lots of feet for your feet, lots of living room for anyone, and a tough new engine with quick pickup and great mileage. The new Toyota Camry, not just the family car, the family Camry.
Oh, what a feeling, Camry. Toyota.
Face-off in the Islanders zone. The Islanders Morrow to Thomas Janssen. Cleared it around in the boards, held in, and now we're going to have another penalty. This one against the Oilers winger Dave Hunter. He had his elbow up high, and Andy Van Helleman spotted that, and the aggressive Dave Hunter goes to the penalty box, and now the Islanders get a chance.
I believe it might have been Kenny Morrow that Lumley, or I should say Hunter, took a run at. Take a look at it right over here in the corner along the boards. No question about it. It was Kenny Morrow, and it was a high elbow by Dave Hunter.
The Islanders with a power play of 26.9% as you look at the always sharply dressed Glenn Sather, the president, GM, and coach of the Oilers. Islanders at 26.9%, 18 power play goals, more than any team this year in the playoffs. Here's Gretzky out to kill it off to Yari Curry, and the Oilers shoot it in. Clark Gillies, number 9, dropping it back for Thomas Janssen. Janssen flipping it up the middle. Randy Gregg is there to intercept Don Jackson. He shot it to the Islander line, and here comes Potvin. Dennis Potvin into Gillies, a shot. Moog, a stick save. Now centered out in front. And a backhander by Keller is blocked, and the Oilers clear at the center. Janssen for New York in control. Left wing pass to Gillies, and then Janssen is knocked down by Messier, and he's been injured right in front of the New York bench. Thomas Janssen down on the ice after a collision with Mark Messier.
Messier supposedly has a bad shoulder. He's wearing a brace tonight to protect that shoulder, but he and Thomas Janssen really collided. It looks like Janssen may have received that heavy blow right to his head area. Take a look again. Messier and Janssen colliding right at center ice. Messier, I think, saw it coming. Saw Janssen coming, that is. Janssen didn't see Messier coming, and, well, Thomas Janssen suffering the worst, it looks like.
So Janssen helped to the Islander bench. Mark Messier wearing a special shoulder brace because of a shoulder injury suffered in Game 3 of the Chicago series. He is ready to play, but still a little sore, according to Glenn Sather. Still a minute 17 left in the penalty to the Oilers. The puck back to the outer line. Dennis Potvin over to number 7, Stepan Persson. Now to Potvin. Potvin shoots one. Moog makes the save. And the Oilers, Kenny Linsman has the rebound. Fires it to center. Knocked down by Gillies and stolen by Lowe and flipped in. He was upended. The fans holler about that. But no penalty called, and Potvin has it for New York. Headmanning it to Gillies. Drop back to Persson. Ahead to Gillies again. Drop pass to Persson. And Linsman is there for Edmonton to intercept and clear it away.
Well, here on this power play, Dan, that's where they're going to miss Bossy. No question about it. They key on Bossy. Between he and Potvin, they do the majority of the shooting.
He has scored more Stanley Cup playoff power play goals than any player in history. That's Mike Bossy. So you're bound to miss that kind of ammunition. Here's Dwayne Sutter flipping it into the Edmonton zone. Back to get it is Louis Fogelin. He's checked. Now the Islanders' Brent Sutter trying to center watch. Into the corner to Bob Bourne. Back to Brent Sutter. Out in front. A shot from a bad angle. High and wide. Now Dwayne Sutter. Cleared it behind the goal. Bourne centering it. Gary Curry cleared it away. Now Hunter is back on. The Oilers have killed it off. Fogelin can't clear it. Here's Bourne. Dropping it back to Persson. His shot blocked. Now Bourne shoots, rebound, they score! Dwayne Sutter there to get the rebound on a backhander, and the Islanders go ahead.
Well, I believe that penalty had just expired, but take a look at this pass. Moog makes the save, but the rebound comes out just a little bit too far. And Dwayne Sutter right there. Watch, key in here. Just to our right, Dwayne Sutter right on the doorstep. No Oiler defenseman close by. You can't leave a player, any player, sitting on the doorstep there. Moog, though, shouldn't perhaps have given up that rebound.
Dwayne Sutter's 8th goal to the playoffs. Here the Oilers coming back, and a shot by Huddy is high and wide. Now Semenko behind the goal to Dave Lumley. Lumley checked by Gord Lane, and Lane, number 24, clears it to John Kennelly. Now to Butch Goring. Goring, number 91. Can't get through the defense. Semenko knocks that down and clears it to center. Lane has it there. He flipped it in, and now Paul Coffey for Edmonton to center ice. Coffey shooting high off the glass with that drive. Smith came diving out to cover up on it and held it. For our local affiliates, we'll pause here. You're watching Stanley Cup hockey on USA.
Right now at the Civic Center in Baltimore, Maryland, a sellout crowd is watching the Baltimore Blast and the Cleveland Force in the deciding game of their Eastern Final Series of the Major Indoor Soccer League playoffs. The winner will go on to face the San Diego Sockers, champions of the West, in a best-of-5 Major Indoor Soccer League Championship Series. And USA will be there to bring you each of the 5 games. We'll start things off Friday live from San Diego, beginning at 10:30 Eastern Time. That is the MISL Championship Series.
1-0, the Islanders leading the scoring play. Dwayne Sutter is 8th of the playoffs. Bourne and Persson the assists. 5:36 the time. Here's Ken Morrow as the Islanders win a face-off over to Gord Lane. He shot at the center. Jackson knocks it down, giving it to Randy Gregg. Now to Messier, number 11, over to Willie Lindstrom. Lindstrom flipping it into Linsman, and Smith the save on the short side. Bob Nystrom clears it. This is Trottier. Got it to the line, held in by Lindstrom. His shot stopped by Lane. He gives it to Trottier. Now Jackson with a shot that deflected. Smith made the save and held on to. And we'll have a face-off near the Islander goal, just off to the right of Billy Smith, who looks very calm and cool.
He also looks very alert, Dan, because that puck, well, I'm not sure whether or not he was screened on it, but it came. He had a little bit of trouble with it. Take a look at it as Jackson just used the wrist shot, but it bounced a couple of times. Smith going down in that crouch to make the save. He covered up with it right in his midsection. Meanwhile, Dan, for the Islanders, I think we're going to see a variety of combinations tonight as Mike Bossy is missing. That is a big hole to fill.
Here the Oilers winning the draw to Fogelin at the point. A big save by Smith on Fogelin's wrist shot. Now the Oilers try and center. Trottier taking it away from Pat Hughes. And Trottier maneuvering in very little ice surface back of the goal. Feeds Dennis Potvin. Potvin to Bourne at center. Bourne trying to clear it in. That's knocked down. Now Cote for Edmonton. Cleared it to center. Dennis Potvin knocked it back on the boards, and Fogelin picks it up, cleared it in. Potvin knocking it down. Now a loose puck into the Islanders zone. Ray Cote dropping it back of the net. Hughes centered it, and Hunter in front of the net couldn't tip it in. Now cleared by Anders Keller to center ice. Cote number 14 back to get it to Fogelin. Ahead to Hughes. Broken up by Potvin. Here come the Oilers again. This time Pearson is there to knock it down. Trottier then shot it to center. And number 12 for Edmonton, Hunter, flipped it in, but right onto Pearson's stick. Here's Clark Gillies to Dwayne Sutter off his skate. The Oilers take over. Blaine Anderson, number 9. Knocked down by Brent Sutter. Thomas Johnson injured earlier, back to get it. Giving it to Pearson, who shot it to center. And to the Oiler line where Paul Coffey controls. Coffey to center ice, broke it up, and Johnson took it away from Gretzky and shot it into the Edmonton zone. Huddy around on the boards as Coffey now feeds Gretzky. And that's Ken Morrow back to tip it away. Number 21, Brent Sutter for New York. Sutter shot it to center to Bourne, and that's whistled down on a 2-line offside pass. We're live in Edmonton, Alberta, where the Islanders lead the Oilers 1-0 here in the first period.
In 1958, Levi's original blue jeans were banned from many high schools across the country, and Levi's cords became a jean to beat the dress code. Since then, most schools have found little correlation between one's jeans and one's higher education, and students have written Levi's cords into a dress code of their own, with lots more colors and a look that walks the perfect line between jeans and slacks. Levi's cords, jeans for the new dress code.
For the Stanley Cup, the oldest trophy competed for by professional athletes in North America, is underway. Stanley Cup goes back to 1893. Here's Dave Semenko with a shot wide of the goal. Now Coffey holding it in. Semenko and Lumley. Here's Semenko back of the net, dropping it back. Charlie Huddy flips it in behind the goal. Now digging into the corner is Tom Ralston, number 24. Ralston knocked out the puck by Brent Sutter. He flips it to center ice. Brent Sutter picks it up himself. Shot it into the Islanders zone. Coffey now for Edmonton. Look at him come back. One of the great rushing defensemen in this era of hockey, Paul Coffey. Checked by Thomas Johnson. Now Bob Bourne to Brent Sutter to Ken Morrow. Ken Morrow into the Edmonton zone, shooting one, and Moog went to his knees, made the save, and held on.
Well, Andy Moog, he is going to be tested also in this series, and a lot by this hard-working Islander hockey club. I thought perhaps he should have had that first shot, Dan, that he got that resulted in an Islander goal by Dwayne Sutter. He gave up the rebound. I don't know whether or not he knew that Dwayne Sutter was standing that close to the goal. And we take a look at John Muckler there, the assistant coach of the Edmonton Oilers.
From the face-off in the Oilers zone, the Oilers clear it. Nystrom knocks it down. The Islanders holding it in. Here's Butch Goring. Got it behind the net. Mold setting it up for Don Jackson. To Glenn Anderson. Now to Gretzky at center to Yari Curry. Drop pass to Gretzky. Gretzky around Pearson, centered it. Going to be a penalty here against the Islanders. And Edmonton will have a power play chance to step on Pearson. Is given a penalty. For our local affiliates, we'll pause here. You're watching Stanley Cup hockey on USA.
So we are still in the first period of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Championship Series, and already the Islanders are facing the same problem that the other teams faced. Penalties against the Oilers, and now the second power play opportunity for Edmonton. At the end of the first period, Stefan Pearson, the talented defenseman of the Islanders, will join me in our studio. We'll be talking, of course, how to stop this great offensive Edmonton Oilers team. And then a look back to 1979 and a former Conn Smythe Trophy winner, Bob Gainey. All that at the end of period 1, so stay with us.
Well, we have Stefan Persson in the box now for the Islanders. 2 minutes for tripping at the 9:44 mark. As we saw just a minute ago, he pulled down number 99, Wayne Gretzky, right in that slot area.
So the Oilers on a power play and trailing in the game as Brian Trottier clears the puck to center ice, and Dr. Randy Gregg, number 21, back to get it for the Oilers. Edmonton, 13 power play goals, 25-point percentage in the playoffs. Linsman leading this rush. Dennis Potvin took him out of the play. Billy Carroll cleared it, but Willie Lindstrom gets it. Morrow knocked it away from him, and Potvin trying to clear it out. Kevin Lowe for Edmonton, holding it in over to Linsman. Into the corner to Lindstrom. Number 19, Lindstrom. Morrow knocked him down. Now Linsman, number 13 for Edmonton. Into the corner to Lindstrom. Edmonton on a power play. Back to Messier. Back to the point man now, who is Lowe. Over to Messier. Mark Messier for Edmonton. Trying to center one. Linsman bumped by Billy Carroll and then hit it ahead with a pass with a hand, so play is called, and the faceoff is outside the Islander blue line.
Well, one thing we know is that these Oilers can really control on the power play. They move, they get into holes, they keep possession of the puck. You notice that the Islanders aren't really forcing them. They're trying to keep the Oilers from working their way into that slot area and getting off a good shot.
A minute and 3 seconds left in the penalty to Stefan Persson. The shots on goal so far favor the Oilers by a margin of 8-7. Well, the only goal has been scored by the Islanders' Dwayne Sutter. Now here's Charlie Huddy for Edmonton in front to Glenn Anderson. Big save by Smith. Now centered out in front. Gretzky shot it wide from a bad angle. Anderson back to Coffey at the point. Into the corner to Gretzky. In front to Anderson. Dwayne Anderson, number 9, big, strong winger of this Edmonton club. He's pulled down, and we're going to get a penalty again against the Islanders. Delayed penalty coming up, and now as Johnson gets possession, play is called, and a slashing penalty coming up against New York will leave the Islanders 2 men short, and it's Billy Smith who gets the slashing call.
Billy Smith's been pretty quiet during playoffs this season. He hasn't utilized that stick anything like he has in the past, but he took it this time. Take a look as Glenn Anderson comes around behind that net. Smith really taking a chop there right at the thigh area of Glenn Anderson. Yari Curry and Glenn Anderson then a very smart move. Dan right in their own end zone. They gave up quickly possession of that puck so that they could have a 5-on-3 instead of that 5-on-4.
Dave Langevin goes into the penalty box. Meanwhile, a big save by Smith moments ago.
Well, he has then another opportunity by Wayne Gretzky. It was from a bad angle, but that puck, well, Smith is sharp tonight. He's up and down and all over the place.
There you see Dave Langevin. He's just back in the Islander lineup after knee problems, and he's serving Smith's penalty. Islanders 2 men short, but the Islanders quickly clear it to center. Paul Coffey into Huddy, across the line to Gretzky, but the play is offside at the New York blue line. And now a penalty coming up against the Oilers for interference on the play.
I believe they're calling Glenn Anderson on that. They believe, interfered with Dennis Potvin. I thought they just collided. Maybe we'll get another look at that. As we take a look at the bearded Glenn Anderson sitting in that penalty box. Interference will be the call.
An interference penalty at 11:19 here of the first period. Anderson's had 2 very big chances here in the first period for the Oilers.
Well, when we get an opportunity eventually to see that replay, take a look at it right now. Potvin coming up. Well, it does look pretty obvious that Glenn Anderson came across that blue looking to pick Potvin.
Here's Edmonton still with a man advantage, 4 against 3. Paul Coffey shooting. Smith the save, and Bob Bourne breaks away, being chased by Gretzky. And Gretzky gets back and knocked it away from Bourne. And there you see the great offensive star Gretzky coming up with a defensive gem.
They say Bobby Bourne is one of the fastest skaters in the National Hockey League. Yet sometimes Wayne Gretzky has been criticized for not really being that fast a skater. I'll tell you, right there at the blue line, of the Islanders, I thought that for sure Bourne was going to be gone. But that wasn't the case. Look at it. From way back there, Gretzky was about 2 strides behind him at the time. He comes back defensively, working hard, and is able to just slash at that puck enough to knock it off of Bobby Bourne's stick. Great defensive move by Wayne Gretzky.
Face-off will be at the Edmonton line. Just 6 seconds left in the first Islander penalty to Persson, so then the teams each will be a man short. 1-0, New York leading, 8:22 left here in the first period. Here's Lindsman breaking in for the Oilers, dropping it to Messier. His shot wide by a couple of feet. Vogelin centered it. Persson's back on, so each team a man short. Lindsman couldn't center it. Dennis Potvin now to Butch Goring. Number 91, Butch Goring. Passing it to John Tonelli, number 27. Kevin Lowe poked it away from him. Now Edmonton's Messier back at center to Lee Vogelin, number 2. Vogelin on right wing, centers one. Gretzky unable to hold it in, and the puck comes back into the Oilers zone with Lowe back to get it. 50 seconds left in Smith's penalty, 58 seconds left in Anderson's penalty of Edmonton. Well, each team a man short. Here's Trottier, who's been brilliant defensively in this game. To Tonelli, shooting, Moog the save. Rebound, and Moog came diving across to Ralph Tonelli a second time. Now Yari Curry to Gretzky, and that play is offside at the New York blue line on the drop pass back, and a couple of saves there by Andy Moog.
Andy Moog really looked sharp on those days. John Tonelli was coming right down that slot area. Kevin Lowe took his life in his hands, I think, when he went down there. But Moog made the big save. The rebound came out, and he was ready for that rebound again. Maybe with Andy Moog this year in playoffs, little signs there of the great performance he put in 2 years ago when they beat out the Montreal Canadiens.
Gretzky on a face-off against Trottier. Gretzky getting the draw. And at center ice, shooting it in, is number 29, Jackson. This is Ken Morrow for New York. Each team a man short as Morrow feeds Thomas Janssen. Janssen checked by Yari Curry, who flipped it back to center. And Morrow back to pick it up again. Ken Morrow giving it to Janssen. The Islanders cautiously move out of their own zone, clear it to center. Gregg knocked it down just as Langevin came back onto the ice, and then the puck was flipped up over the glass. Langevin was serving Billy Smith's penalty. 7 seconds left in Glenn Anderson's minor for Edmonton.
Really not enough time for the Oilers to worry too much about sending out a specific power play unit. And in fact, they're not doing that. They've got Cote out there. Again, I have to remark is the number of combinations that Al Arbour has utilized tonight so far in this first period. And Brian Trottier has got a great deal of that ice time.
Right now, the Sutter brothers and Bourne are up front for New York. On the face-off, Ray Cote ties up Brent Sutter and Don Jackson. Lets Randy Gregg play the puck to center. Now Anderson is back on as the teams are at full strength. Brent Sutter flipped it in, but the play was offside. The National Hockey League is coming to you coast to coast on the USA Cable Network, and the Islanders lead 1-0.
Think of all the pictures that got away while you were busy winding the film.
Ooh, the pictures you missed before the Kodak disc.
The Kodak disc camera has automatic film advance. It's so fast you don't have to miss a leap, a flip, or a dip. So the only way a picture will get away is if it goes away.
Ooh, the pictures you missed before the Kodak disc. Ooh, the pictures you missed.
The only goal in this game has been scored by Dwayne Sutter. The Islanders lead 1-0. 6:33 left here in the first period. Edmonton's Randy Gregg on right wing to Ray Cote. Cote firing the puck into the Islander zone. Hunter in after it for Edmonton. Tied up by Dwayne Sutter and Stepan Persson. And it's held there, and we'll have a face-off. Persson, by the way, will be Al Trautwig's intermission guest in our upcoming first intermission as we look at the Oiler forward Dave Hunter.
I had mentioned tonight before this game that he was probably breathing a sigh of relief because his job was, in fact, tonight, so they say anyway, Glenn Sather was going to put Dave Hunter on Mike Bossy, and that would have been quite an assignment this evening.
Face off in the Islanders zone. Cote, a big surprise in the playoffs for the Oilers, got the draw, but Brent Sutter gets the puck and cleared it on left wing. Randy Gregg holding it in. Off of Hunter's skate and just wide of the goal, and Billy Smith grabbed it and held on as well. As meeting Stefan Persson, the Islander defenseman, we'll have a feature on the Conn Smythe Trophy winner of the past in our intermission. And, of course, the Conn Smythe Trophy winner goes to the best player in the Stanley Cup playoffs each year.
Well, we took a look at Dr. Randy Gregg there. He is right from Edmonton, Alberta. Nothing like playing at home.
Nothing like making all that money as a pro hockey player and being a doctor besides. Flips the shot wide of the goal as the Islanders come up with it. Bourne playing it off the boards. And going back is Don Jackson. Jackson will touch the puck and it will be icing against the Islanders. Maybe Dr. Randy Gregg will tend to Mike Bossy and his tonsillitis with the Islanders. I doubt it. He'll say that's not his specialty.
Well, I think if I was Mike Bossy, doctor or not,
other opinion.
No question about that. This man, though, Mr. Trottier, I'm sure he will miss Mike Bossy on his right side tonight. And as again we take a look at Randy Gregg. Speaking of being at home, the Sutter brothers, Dwayne and Brent, are at home almost tonight as well, coming from Viking, Alberta, only a couple hours drive from Edmonton.
And I'm sure a lot of the Sutter clan is here watching Dwayne and Brent. There's a quick shot from the face-off. Smith handling that. Hunter now trying to center. It's tipped in front by Pat Hughes, but the Islanders clear it to center, and Gregg is back for Edmonton. Over on the right wing side to Hughes. Now to Dave Hunter. Hunter skated off on the play by Janssen. Now Hunter centered it. Smith cleared it away, and Bob Nystrom for New York. Couldn't get it out of the zone, but Janssen does. Thomas Janssen, the little defenseman from Sweden. His shot is handled by Moog and Don Jackson for the Oilers. Pass to Hunter at center. Hunter moving in. His shot went off Janssen wide of the goal, and then Hunter took a run at Janssen. He's going to get a penalty, probably for elbowing. Delayed penalty coming up. Here are the Islanders with Tonelli. Spun around by Fogelin, and now Lowe gets the puck, and now play is called, and an elbowing penalty is the call against Dave Hunter of the Edmonton Oilers. Let's go to Al Trupling at our USA studios.
Well, Dan, as you know, we'll be right back here at the Northlands Coliseum Thursday night with Game 2. Be with us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, right here on USA Thursday night for Game 2 of the 1983 Stanley Cup Championship.
Penalty on that last play to Hunter, a minor penalty, the call for elbowing, 14:57 the time, and an Islander power play.
Well, Dave Hunter took a little run there at Thomas Janssen. You know, it's almost as if they perhaps are purposely going at Janssen tonight. Watch that elbow come right around and really knock Thomas Janssen. That's twice tonight that Janssen has undergone some heavy overseeing by this Edmonton Hockey Club. Thomas Janssen, a very fine defenseman with this Islander club and a key man in playoffs for them.
Here's Andy Van Hellemond, the referee, and now a look at the Oiler bench. Here are the Islanders on the power play. Clark Gillies drops it back. Potvin couldn't hold it in, and then he had to pull Messier down, and he'll get a penalty. A bad drop pass by Gillies put Potvin in trouble, and he didn't hesitate a moment. He just pulled down Mark Messier, and there goes the Islander power play down the drain.
Well, you know, I think that's a good penalty by Potvin, because the way this Edmonton team can score, Dan, he knew he was in trouble. So I think the chances, especially since the Oilers already had a penalty, he knew it would only even it up versus going on a 2-on-1 situation, allowing the Oilers that opportunity. I think that was a very smart move by Potvin.
There you see Al Arbour, the very smart Islander coach. A hooking call. 15:07 the time. Each team will be a man short now as Andy Van Hellemond now comes over near the Islander bench. Was he warning Al Arbour? I think so. Arbour standing up on the Islander bench.
Well, Al Arbour was very upset, and he's still pointing his finger at Andy Van Hellemond. I thought for a minute there that they perhaps were assessing the Islanders with another penalty, but I think it must have just been a warning to Al Arbour over being a little upset over that penalty.
So each team will be a man short. It is 1-0 Islanders. 4 minutes, 53 seconds remaining here in the first period. Here's Linsman for Edmonton, but it's cleared to center by Anders Kaller. Shot back in by Kevin Lowe. And Dave Langevin, number 26, back for New York. Shot it off the boards. It's held in by Lowe. Now Kaller flipping it to center, and Fogelin is back for Edmonton. Over to Mark Messier. Number 11, Messier. Giving it to Lowe, and now back to the play. A penalty coming up against Kenny Linsman, I believe. It will be against Linsman for pulling down Trottier.
I would think that both hockey clubs coming into tonight would definitely be concentrating on not taking any bad penalties. As a result, though, we have seen some bad penalties tonight. Take a look at Linsman here, right in front of referee Andy Van Helmen. He pulls Trottier down, putting the Oilers in trouble.
I would have advice for both teams because, as we look at the penalty again, Gary, of the great power play of both teams, you have to be very careful about taking penalties, whether you're an Oiler or an Islander.
No question, Dan. Both teams, just tremendous power plays. You can't afford to get those penalties, especially the bad ones.
A 4-against-3 Islander power play. Persson to Janssen. Back to Persson. Into the side of the net to Trottier. Back to Thomas Janssen. Janssen into Trottier. Flipped it in front. Cleared away by the Oilers. Fogelin now trying to shoot it out. Janssen held it in. To Persson. Back to Janssen. Thomas Janssen holding on to it. Now to Persson. Back to Janssen. Broken up by Gretzky. To Janssen again. Janssen fakes the shot. Into Trottier, who tipped it wide. Trottier back of the net. Back to Persson. Shooting. Saved with his goal stick by Moog. And then Fogelin cleared it away. And a crazy hop off the boards. Almost got Billy Smith out of his net.
Smith had to go diving out to make that save. That was really a crazy bounce.
Here's Bourne for New York. Bourne back to Thomas Janssen. He moves in, shoots. Moog took it against his chest and held on to it.
One thing there, we saw Randy Gregg drop to his knees. The Islanders right now with a 4-on-3 situation. That's a very difficult one to defend against. I think Gregg should have stayed up on his feet. Take a look here at that crazy bounce. It came off the boards just behind linesman Ray Scampanello, and you see Smith go diving out. He thought that puck was destined for the corner.
Kevin Lowe and Anders Kaller doing a little bit of jockeying in front of that net for position.
Popular.
They really go at it.
Yeah, they really do. And a popular move by a defenseman there, Dan, is to grab the opponent's stick. He was doing that, Kevin Lowe that is, on Anders Kaller very well.
The Islanders 18 power play goals at 26.9%. The Oilers penalty killing only 73.3%. So they apparently are vulnerable when shorthanded, and that's the situation now. But this time Edmonton cleared down the ice. Persson back to get it to Janssen. Now the Edmonton penalized player, the first one, Hunter, is back on. And the play goes offside anyway at the Edmonton blue line. So now each team is a man short as we look at one of the Sutter brothers, Brent, number 21.
You mentioned the Oilers penalty killing not quite being up to snuff. A lot of that reason is they score a lot of goals when they are killing penalties. Very dangerous shorthanded. Then again, the number one job is to try and kill that penalty first of all. But who can complain when you score 22 shorthanded goals during the course of the regular season?
And 10 in these playoffs, which is an all-time Stanley Cup record. And they still can add to that, of course. Here's Jackson to Randy Gregg. Into the center ice area to Hunter. Now over on right wing to Pat Hughes. Hughes hit the side of the net from a sharp angle. Oilers are still a man short as the Islanders. Smith gives it to Bourne. Bourne at center. In across the line. Taken out of the play at the defense. And Dwayne Sutter back to get it. Passing to Brent Sutter. His shot wide of the goal. Bounces to center. And now Linsman is back on. So both teams are back at full strength. Persson back to pick it up. Shot it off the boards to center ice. Charlie Huddy at his own line to Paul Coffey. Coffey for Edmonton. Firing it into the Islanders' zone. Smith out of the net to clear it to Nystrom. Nystrom shot it back of the goal. Linsman to Messier. Messier Potvin flat on the ice, blocked it. Now Coffey, a backhander. Potvin again was there to stop the shot. Here's Kenny Linsman to Messier. Now in front to Linsman. Goring ties him up. Here's Paul Coffey. In front, Willie Lindstrom fanned on it. Now Huddy a drive. That's wide of the goal, and Tonelli is able to clear it to center. Shot back in by Messier, but the play is offside, and for about the last 30 seconds, we saw a little bit of that Oiler power.
Well, this man will be defending that a fair amount during this series. Very good defensive player, a hard-working man. That helmet has been with him a long, long time, right from way back when he played minor hockey. Butch Goring, Mr. May.
Wayne Gretzky needing a point to put his name at another record, tying Mike Bossy for the all-time points lead in a year. Here's Huddy moving in on right wing. Janssen got back for New York. Now Glenn Anderson into the corner. Centers one. Coffey at the point. Shooting. Smith the save. Anderson couldn't get the rebound, and Janssen beats Bob Nystrom. Nystrom to center. Drops it into his own end of the rink for Thomas Janssen. Over to Ken Morrow. Morrow couldn't get it by Anderson. He centered. Gretzky was open but couldn't handle a pass, and back comes Nystrom. To John Tonelli. We're in the final minute of the first period. Tonelli bumped on that play by Kevin Lowe, and then Anderson fires it down the ice for Edmonton. Potvin back to get it. Icing will be the call, as now we have some words at center ice between some Oilers and some Islanders.
Kevin Lowe and John Tonelli, they were the two that were exchanging those words. Nothing really came of it, but we know the frustrations, really, the nervousness of opening rounds of the National Hockey League Stanley Cup Finals, and here we see exactly why they were having some words, both crashing into the board, sticks getting up a little bit high. This man right here, John Tonelli, certainly a very hard worker. He's just like a bull in a china shop out there. Arms and legs go every place, but what an effort he gives.
The shots on goal favor Edmonton, 14-12 here in the first period. 48 seconds left. The only scoring play, though, the Auditors' Dwayne Sutter from Bourne and Pearson at 5:36 here in the first period. Here's a big face-off. Trottier against the Oiler rookie Kotek. Trottier got the draw, but the Oilers clear it. And here's number 11, Mark Messier. Messier checked by Potvin, and then Potvin slides the puck all the way down the ice. And that's going to be an icing call against the New York Islanders.
35 seconds remaining in this first period. Very big face-off now coming up for the Oilers in the offensive zone. If they could only win this draw and get a good scoring opportunity, perhaps they could even this score before the first period ends, sending them into the dressing room. A little bit more relieved, but the Islanders have played very well in their own end zone tonight. Billy Smith looks sharp as can be. So does Dennis Potvin.
You were looking at Mark Messier, who has had a big playoff with 14 goals. The leader in playoff goals is Mike Bossy. Right behind Barry Peterson of the now eliminated Bruins, and Messier with 14, then Gretzky with 12. And of course, Bossy out of the lineup tonight because of a case of tonsillitis. Kenny Linsman, the former Philadelphia Flyer, wins the faceoff, but Billy Smith clears the puck to Bourne. Willie Lindstrom tying him up. Bourne now checked as Linsman is pushed into the boards by Dennis Potvin. And Potvin has been very prominent here in the first period, but the play for much of the period in the Auditor end of the rink.
He really has, Dan. He has played well. This man right here, the Islanders' best face-off man, he had problems in that Boston series with Barry Peterson. But watch this right here off the face-off. Kenny Linsman won it because he wanted to go ahead, but Trottier, a very important asset for a center iceman. If you lose that draw, then stay with your man. He stayed with him. He held him. He made sure Linsman didn't get through him.
Should that have been a penalty?
Well, perhaps face-off interference, but you don't see a lot of it called, Dan.
Here's Linsman against Trottier. This time Trottier gets the draw, and Pearson will be our intermission guest. Clears it on the wing to Bob Bourne, number 14. Here's Bourne. Long shot. Moe cleared that aside. Now tipped to center. Linsman dropping it back, and Willie Lindstrom, number 19, had to go back and get it. Now shoots it in with just a few seconds left. Cleared to Potvin. Now to Clark Gillies, and there's the buzzer. to end the first period here in Edmonton. Shots on goal very close, favored the Oilers by a margin of 14-13. Coming up in our first intermission, the Islander defenseman from Sweden, Stefan Persson, will visit with Al Trautwig. The score after one period of play in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Islanders 1, Edmonton 0. Our between period activities right after this.
Some wide open stuff in that first period in this Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Championship of 1983. The Islanders draw first blood and they lead the Edmonton Oilers by a score of 1-0. Dwayne Sutter notching his 8th goal of the playoffs. Well, as the Islanders come in to face the Oilers in this Stanley Cup Series, we know what kind of offensive pressure they will be facing. And that means the pressure will be on the defense of the New York Islanders. And it will fall partially on the man to my immediate right, Stefan Persson of the New York Islanders. Stefan, that was a wide-open first period, and if you had expected to be tested, you certainly were.
Well, we were tested, no doubt about that. I don't think that was the kind of period we wanted to play, really. When we went out there, we wanted to try to keep them their own end and force the defense to make the mistake. This period, I think they were too much in our own end, and we had to dig it out quite a few times.
Secretly, though, can't you look back on the first period and say, well, we absorbed a lot of pressure, we frustrated them, and we proved that we can stand in front and clear the puck when we have to?
Yeah, I think we did. They had a lot of good chances, though, but usually in a hockey game you get that. But I think we had some solid effort from the defense down there, and there were quite a few power plays, too, but they sort of even up there at the end. But if we start getting a little bit more power play, I think we can get a few more goals, too.
Stefan, the situation with the Islanders has always been you can play whatever type of game you would like to play, and we will be able to play with you. Coming off a series with the Boston Bruins, the different styles between Boston and Edmonton are very, very large. How do you adapt so quickly?
That's tough, no doubt about that. Because Boston, they really take your body, and they sort of play the game that they take the mistakes you do and they score on that. Edmonton are the opposite. I mean, they try to force the other team and get their own chances. So it's a whole different game, and we got some good skaters, so it's up to them really to skate with the Oilers, and the check is really to take them out in their own end.
As defensemen singularly in this game, you can't do it by yourself. In other words, you with Dennis Potvin can't do it alone. How do you draw the entire team into the defensive thinking that they must have in playing against an Edmonton team like this?
I don't think you can just put it on like before a game like Edmonton. I think you got to work on that the whole year, and I think Gas doing that with us. That we're playing some bad teams maybe during the season, but still he wants us to think a little bit defensively too and just not run around sort of. And when the playoff comes, it's sort of in your back of your mind, and you just pick it out and you use it.
As you probably know, those of you watching at home, Mike Bossy, not playing tonight for the Islanders, had tonsillitis when he woke up this morning. I hope your tonsils are fine, but I was wondering what you might have been thinking when you came in and found out that Mike wouldn't play. Earlier in the playoffs, when Brian Trottier couldn't play, I thought the Islanders responded with an inspired performance.
Yeah, we did, but with Mike on the power play, you want to have that guy out there because he is a really sniper, and he probably scored at least 50% of all our power plays, and it's going to hurt us if he can't come back, I mean, to the next game, no doubt about that, but I think he will be back.
A lot of penalties in the game so far. Which team does that favor?
Usually the home teams, yeah. Because, like, they score a lot of power plays on the home ice, but we've been doing pretty good so far this year, but if you look back at the 3 years before we won the Cup, we had, like, around 30-35% power play goals, and that sort of won the Cup for us the first year when we played Philadelphia, and you got to have that working for you when you're playing in the final.
As you sit and watch the Islanders play, what are the key things you look for that tells you that the Islanders are playing at their peak? Is it the look in Bobby Nystrom's eyes? Is it the way Brian is skating? Is it Al Arbor's pace behind the bench? What is it?
Al, I don't see that much because he's behind us, but I think it's the intensity. If you see when they sort of Oilers coming up the ice and you see the other guys really the forward trying to come back, then you know it's okay. But if you see they sort of tire out there before they really can come back, then you know you're in pretty bad shape because everyone got to come back, especially against this team, because they use that delay play a lot. The centerman goes in, curl just inside the blue line, wait for a defenseman to sneak up on the other side, and they make that cross-ice pass. And you really got to come back all the time to take him out.
Stefan, as I watch you play, and I might be ruffling your feathers here a little bit, I can't help but think that this Edmonton Oilers team would be a perfect team for you to play on.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that. Exciting hockey. I think most of the people in the United States and Canada now, they look forward to finals like this between Oilers and us because I think we're two good hockey teams, and there's a lot of talent on both teams. But the Oilers, they're a great team, no doubt about that. I mean, if I got traded, I wouldn't mind get traded to them.
Well, we don't want to start anything here. Hockey fans across the country are saying things like Dream Series. This is the one that the Oilers wanted because it's not the same if you don't beat the defending champions. And from the Islanders' standpoint, the regular season is a distant memory. Now, if they want to win the Stanley Cup, certainly the challenge of the Edmonton Oilers is strong. How do you see this series?
It's we want to beat Oilers pretty bad because it's a team with a lot of confidence. I mean, they've been sort of blowing the other side out in this finals, in this Stanley Cup. And we had a rough year, and many sort of counted us out, and they start thinking, oh, they're over the hill and they don't want it anymore. And on our team, it's a lot of guys who want to prove that's wrong.
The important things for the Islanders in the rest of this game?
We're going to try to play in their end a little bit more and force their defense. I think that's a little bit of a key. And get a lot of shots, sort of get in front of the goalie, like put a guy in front and take a lot of shots. We got to get those shots.
Well, the butterflies in the stomach are long gone. This series is well underway, and we'd like to thank Stefan Pearson for joining us in our studio in between periods 1 and 2, and for being with us. He will receive the exciting new disc camera from Kodak. It's so easy to use, you never miss a picture. Our guest has been Stefan Pearson of the New York Islanders, where after one period of play at the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, it is the Islanders 1 and the Oilers nothing. When we return, a look back to 1979's Conn Smythe winner, Bob Gainey of Montreal. We'll be back.
Every player, every coach, every team. All the goals and all the games. The official NHL guide contains 485 pages of information and facts. Order your copy by mail. Send check or money order for $7.95 to NHL Guide, 1221 Avenue of the Americas, Suite 1444, New York, New York, 10020. That's NHL Guide, 1221 Avenue of the Americas, Suite 1444, New York, New York, 10020.
You'll play ball with the American League's MVP on the next edition of USA's Thursday Night Baseball. Super shortstop Robin Yount, Cooper, Ogilvy, and Molitor look to slug the awesome Brewers past Dwight Evans, Jim Rice, Tony Armas, and the hard-hitting Boston Red Sox. Spend an evening with the superstars on Thursday Night Baseball. The Red Sox and the Brewers following the Stanley Cup playoffs on the USA Network. May not be seen in some areas.
After one period of play, as we continue from the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta, it's the Islanders 1 and the Edmonton Oilers nothing as we continue with our coverage of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Championship Series. You know, the New York Ranger fans watch this series with a little bit of jealousy. Their team has never been able to win the Stanley Cup since 1940. They did make the finals in 1979, but they were beaten out by a man named Bob Gainey of Montreal.
Gainey of the Montreal Canadiens was the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player in the Stanley Cup playoffs in 1979. The Canadiens were gunning for their 4th straight Cup victory. After an opening round win over the Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal met the Boston Bruins in a much-remembered semi-final series that was won by the Canadiens in overtime in Game 7. Bob Gainey has long been recognized as one of the greatest defensive forwards in hockey history, and he was at his best in the 1979 playoffs. He had emerged as a true leader of the powerful Montreal team. The Canadiens met the New York Rangers in the final round, the Rangers having upset the league champion Islanders in the semifinals. Following a win by New York in the opening game of the series, the Canadiens roared back to take the next 4 and clinch their 4th straight Stanley Cup. In the 1979 playoffs, Bob Gainey augmented his obvious defensive skills with the best playoff point-scoring total of his career, 16 points in 16 games on 6 goals and 10 assists. As the final series wore down, Gainey emerged a dominant figure in the Montreal lineup. 1979 was the only time in their 4 straight wins the Canadiens of that era clinched the Cup on home ice, and there was a tremendous roar from the Forum crowd as Gainey was hoisted onto the shoulders of his teammates when his Smythe Trophy selection was announced. With a Selke Trophy victory as well, 1979 was a vintage year for Bob Gainey of the Montreal Canadiens.
For the frustrated fans of Montreal, 1979 must be a distant memory as well. But now it's up to Serge Savard, the new general manager of that great team, to restore the great Stanley Cup to the Montreal Canadiens Forum in Montreal. We will continue with Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Championship of '83. It's the Islanders 1-0.
I once rolled a log off a 100-foot waterfall, came up standing, and popped myself open a cold light beer from Miller.
Ah, you lumberjacks. Well, one time a big-mouth bass pulled me up a waterfall. That's when you appreciate light beer, because it's less filling.
Yeah, but it was the thought of light's great taste that kept me going when I was cutting timber in the Great Sahara Forest.
Wait a minute. Sahara's the desert.
It is now.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
No, speaking of forest, remember that time?
This is a match. This is Match Light Charcoal. Something amazing is about to happen. The match will light the match light without adding lighter fluid. Match light. Match light lights faster and easier than regular charcoal. And you don't need lighter fluid. Match light. Now, all you need is match light and a match. You don't need a single drop of lighter fluid, ever.
I'm Paul Williams, composer and Grand Prix driver. This is the 1983 Celica GTS. Some good-looking car, huh? And excuse the expression, it isn't short on performance. Watch this.
That's Paul. That's the Celica. And for '83, the Celica GTS has a new independent rear suspension, electronic fuel injection, and even more horsepower.
You know, when I drive a Toyota Celica, I'm 6'2", Dan Gurney.
Sure you are.
At the end of one period in Game 1 of the 1983 Stanley Cup Final, it's the New York Islanders 1, the Edmonton Oilers 0. Wayne Sutter, the only goal of the period, his 8th of the playoffs at the 5:36 mark. In the period, the Oilers outshot the Islanders 14-13, and Wayne Sutter with the game's only goal so far.
Well, take a look. From the shot from the point originated from Pearson. Moog stopped that. The rebound went out to Bourne. Bourne took a shot, and then it trickled by, and Dwayne Sutter ends up putting in the net. 2 shots by Moog. He gave up rebounds on both, but the second one, the one on Bourne's shot, really was the worst because it wasn't that difficult a shot in the first place, but I think it was perhaps from the angle, Dan, and I'm not sure that Andy Moog even realized that Sutter was over there. But then again, where was the Edmonton defense? Because you can't blame it all on the goaltender.
Meanwhile, Gary, I thought it was a great first period, and I thought we saw some great play from both teams, and I think it augurs for a great series after watching 20 minutes.
Boy, that was an exciting period, Dan. We saw a little bit of everything. Some good scoring opportunities by both hockey clubs, and again, some good hits made out there, but I think maybe a few too many bad penalties, and I think both coaches will describe them as bad penalties, other than Dennis Potvins, and I think, again, that was a heck of a good penalty to take at the point in time. You allow those Oilers 2-on-1 opportunities, and they're going to score far more times than they're not.
A little chippiness, I think we could call it, from the part of both clubs.
Maybe a little bit of nervousness, even though you can say, well, the Islanders are so experienced. They've been here so many times before. The Oilers, I think the Oilers have reason to be a little bit nervous. They have been out for a while, laid off for a week, and this is the first time for them in these finals. But again, coming in, you wipe the slate clean, regardless of your passing, you're keyed up and you're nervous for this opening game in the finals.
We've talked all through the playoffs about Edmonton being such a great skating team. They've been off for a week. Sometimes it takes a little while to get those legs going again. Would you anticipate that we may even see more speed in this second and third period than we did in the first from the Oilers?
I don't think there's any question about that. I didn't think it would affect them as much as it did. Usually with a free skating hockey club like the Oilers are, the layoff doesn't hurt them as much as long as you're on the ice. But I don't think they skated as fast as they can skate in that first period. But watch out in the second.
I thought in the early part of the period, Andy Moog looked a little shaky, but as the period went on, he seemed to steady down.
That first goal, again, maybe shook him. Well, maybe that got him out of the system. He's a real competitor, Dan, and I think right after that goal was scored, he really decided concentration. He bore down, and as a result, he made some great saves.
Okay, that's our thinking upstairs. Let's go down to our studio. Here again is Al Trowbridge.
Well, Dan, I join you in your thinking that this is certainly going to be a great series. And, of course, USA, we've been bringing you hockey all season long. We've now passed the 50 telecast mark in covering the National Hockey League, and we will continue to bring it to you right down to the bitter end. We'll be back with you on Thursday night for Game 2 of this series, live from the Northlands Coliseum, beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then these two teams will take the long trip back to Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York, for Games 3 and 4, Saturday and Tuesday nights. And then, if they are necessary, Games 5, 6, and 7 will be back here in Edmonton, back at Nassau, and finally back here in Edmonton. And, of course, we will be there throughout all the NHL Stanley Cup Playoff Championship Series for 1983, as well as bringing you the MISL Championship Series and our continuing coverage of the NBA playoffs. So here, after one period of play, as Dan and Gary said, it has been very interesting, wide open, and quite exciting, with Dwayne Sutter notching the only goal, his 8th of the season, assisted by Bobby Bourne and Stephen Pearson. Back up to Dan and Gary as we get set to drop the puck on period 2.
Gary, as we get ready to start the second period, any things or thoughts you might advise the fans to keep an eye on as this second period unfolds, as far as strategy or individuals?
I think that you'll see perhaps Goring being used a fair amount on Wayne Gretzky tonight. And again, Sather has the shift, the last change, but we'll have to see and watch for that one.
Here we go at the second period, and Randy Gregg trying to play the puck on the boards, dropped it back into his own zone. Don Jackson now over to number 12, Hunter, ahead to Cote, number 14. Ray Cote centering it. Smith cleared it away, and Trottier drops it back to Potvin. He tried to get it out. Gregg at the point held it in. That shot blocked by Pearson, and he hit it ahead with a hand pass to a teammate, so that stops play. As we look at Bob Nystrom, who comes on so strong every year in the playoffs.
Remember, Al Arbour sat him out in the last couple of games of the regular season. That made Bobby Nystrom a little upset because he couldn't bear the thought of going into the Stanley Cup playoffs and him not playing. He has played very well for these Islanders. He's a man that rose to the occasion.
There you see Bobby Nystrom, the Islander right winger. By the way, in the first period, John Tonelli led all the shooters. He had 4 shots on goal. For the Oilers, Anderson had 3. Here's a shot from the point by Huddy. That's into the corner. And now Anderson for Edmonton. Knocked down, going to be a penalty against the Islanders. Huddy, a backhander. Smith handled that, and now a holding penalty coming up here against the Islanders. This is the National Hockey League on the USA Cable Network. More action right after this.
In the last known photograph of the Dalton gang, Bob and Grat Dalton are both wearing Levi's original blue jeans. They probably never gave their choice a lot of thought, and 100 years later, Levi's jeans still give you a lot not to think about. Workmanship that'll never let you down. Comfort you know you can count on, and style that fits in without question. Levi's jeans. The more you think about them, the more you realize you don't have to.
The legend lives on.
A penalty on that last play. Janssen of the Islanders holding the call, as you see. 39 seconds the time here. The Oilers 0 for 3 on the power play tonight. Gary Curry back to Paul Coffey. Over to Charlie Huddy. Brian Trottier breaks it up and clears it down the ice, and the Islanders are a top-notch penalty-killing team.
That they are. They have only allowed 12 goals coming into tonight's game, 85%. That is more than respectable.
Here are the Oilers with a great power play, but Pearson breaks it up. Couldn't clear it. Coffey held it in, but Dennis Potvin was there. They flipped it up the middle. Carroll couldn't handle it, and the Oilers drop it back to Charlie Huddy. Around on the boards to Paul Coffey. Now to Huddy again, off his skate to Anderson. Over to Gretzky. Number 99, Wayne Gretzky. In on right wing for Huddy. Charlie Huddy trying to drop it back. Goring broke it up. Gretzky held it in. Goring ties him up, and breaking out is Billy Carroll with one man back. Carroll against Coffey. And Carroll ridden out of the play by Paul Coffey, who did a good job on the one-on-one. Gretzky now trying to break out with Coffey. Back to Gretzky. Gretzky fakes the shot, and the play was offside at the New York blue line, as you see Janssen in the penalty box.
The Oilers a little bit too eager on that last rush. They saw that Billy Carroll and Bobby Bourne were both caught up ice. They were forechecking deep in the Oilers' end zone. And here we take a look at Peter Palkington, the owner of this Edmonton Oiler Hockey Club.
affectionately known in these parts as Peter Puck. Face off with a minute, or pardon me, 44 seconds left in the Islander penalty. Here's Coffey into Willie Lindstrom. Back to Coffey. Coffey couldn't center it. Oilers drop it on the boards to Lindstrom. His drop pass to Huddy was off the mark, and the Oilers have to go back into their own zone. Number 22, Huddy. Headmanning it to Linsman. Now to Coffey. Edmonton still on a power play. 13 seconds left in the Islander penalty. Dave Langevin breaks the rush up. Langevin trying to clear it. Flipping it off the boards. Knocked down and held in by Messier to Linsman. And Butch Goring knocked it away. Langevin cleared to Carroll. They couldn't get it out. But Morrow comes up with it just as Janssen comes out of the penalty box. Huddy back for Edmonton. This pass to Mark Messier, number 11, to Willie Lindstrom. Ken Morrow knocking that down. Over to Dave Langevin, number 26, to Clark Gillies. Gillies back to Langevin. Now to Anders Keller to Trottier. Trottier to Keller, broken up by Tom Ralston, number 24, who circles for the Oilers. To Lee Fogelin, shot to center, and Keller was there defensively for New York, and he shoots it in. Kevin Lowe back for Edmonton. To Dave Lumley, number 20, rink wide to Ralston. He speeds to center. Persson was there to poke it away to Keller. Shot near the Edmonton line, and Fogelin is back to get it. Lee Fogelin at center. Checked by Keller. Now to Gillies. They head to Trottier. Trottier to Anders Keller. Keller back to Persson, cutting in. His shot blocked by Fogelin, and Big Dave Semenko comes up with it. Trottier checks in. Here's Gillies. Back of the net centered. Dave Lumley intercepts. Number 20, Dave Lumley for the Oilers. Just flips it in, and Potvin has it for New York. On right wing to Keller. To Dennis Potvin. Headmanning it to Bob Bourne, but poking that away was Gregg, and back comes Hughes. To Jackson to Pat Hughes. Hughes a shot, and Smith makes a glove save and held on to it. And we'll have a face-off in the Islander zone. With the score.
You don't have to put up with hotel excuses like the maid, the TV man, or the plumber is gone for the day. Because Holiday Inn gives you this no excuses guarantee. Everything in your room will be right, or we'll make it right. No excuses. Or that night, you stay free. You don't get this guarantee from any other hotel chain. Not one. So, let us take care of you. Holiday Inn gives you a guarantee, not excuses.
Here the Oilers trying to put some pressure on Dwayne Sutter, number 12. He scored the only goal of this game. Dropping it to Langevin. Shot to center, and Ray Cote, number 14. Intercepting for Edmonton. Brent Sutter tying him up. Now Dwayne Sutter helping out his younger brother Brent as they pin Cote against the boards. Puck comes loose to Hunter. He's tied up on the play by Langevin. Now Dwayne Sutter. Checked by Pat Hughes on the play. Here are the Oilers centering it, and a diving play by Janssen. Now Jackson a shot from the point. That's blocked, and Bob Bourne for New York tries to clear it and flips it to center. This is number 14, Ray Cote. Ahead to Glenn Anderson. Anderson shoots high. Shot that Smith ducked on, and then had to reach up and make a glove save as you look at Langevin out of the University of Minnesota Duluth and back in the Islander lineup.
Very surprising that Dave Langevin is back in the lineup. He suffered that knee injury earlier, and everyone thought that he was gone for the season. I think he surprised more people when we found out he was coming back into the lineup. There we see some of the action in the corner. Sutter and Hughes. Langevin back in there. Langevin again back in there.
Langevin, a native of St. Paul, Minnesota, and a very good defensive defenseman for this New York team. Here are the Islanders with a chance, blocked in front of the net by Potvin, and now Nystrom feeding it to center ice to Trottier, who carries in for New York. Trottier got it in front. Yari Curry broke it up. Curry tried a lead pass to Gretzky, but Goring knocked it down, and Goring is out with Nystrom now on the right side. Nystrom into forecheck. Drops it to Persson. That shot blocked. Here's Goring shooting. Save. Rebound to Tonelli. Another save by Moog. And the puck still loose in front of the goal, and back from the Oilers, led by Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky tried to flip it in front, knocked down by Tonelli and shot back to center. And Kevin Lowe has it for Edmonton. To Gretzky. Persson checks him, and Nystrom feeding it to Goring. This is the line that Al Arbour and the Auditors use against the Gretzky line. Now Nystrom upended. Here's Yeri Curry to Gretzky at center. Gretzky ahead to Anderson. He leaves it for Fogelin. Lee Fogelin. Bumped by Thomas Janssen. The puck behind the goal, and Persson has it for New York to Janssen. Now to Trottier. Ahead on right wing for Keller. There's Moog out of the goal, and he slid along the ice and scooped it up. For our local affiliates, we'll pause here. You're watching Stanley Cup hockey on USA.
The crazy world of professional wrestling grapples its way back to the USA screen tomorrow night from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. The feature brings together Andre the Giant and Big John Studd. It sounds like Dan Kelly and Gary Green. Also a battle between Rocky Johnson and the magnificent Morocco. It all comes your way at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Professional wrestling tomorrow night here on USA.
There's Brian Trottier. He's out centering a line with Clark Gillies on left wing. Anders Keller on the right side. So Keller right now is in the spot usually played by Bossy. Here comes Linsman for Edmonton to center ice. Flipping it in. Mark Messier in after it. Ken Morrow tied him up, and Trottier came back to clear it on the boards. Randy Gregg holding it in. Centers one. Anders Keller intercepts that. Keller then flipping it to center. Linsman played it off the boards. There's Keller knocked down. He's been shaken up. Play carries on as the Oilers move in, and Anders Keller has been injured, and that's why play has been called, and he seems to be injured in the face area.
Well, we'll have to take a look at that again on replay, but he's definitely holding his nose, mouth, and eye area. You see that he wears that shield. Take a look and see how it happened here. Well, it looks as though he got perhaps an elbow or a stick. Very difficult to tell, but it really knocked him flying, and obviously it hurt because it put him right on his back, and he stayed there. Doesn't look that as though he was cut at all. Mark Messier, I believe, was the man that did run into him.
Earlier in the game, you saw Messier run into Thomas Janssen and shake up the young Islander defenseman.
Well, let's take a look right now at some action in the Oilers' end zone. Andy Moog, after having let in that first goal, has been very sharp. Twice there he makes a save. He's down, but he had a good sight on the puck. Tonelli, Nystrom, and Goring really put some pressure there on the Oilers.
From the face-off, it is Janssen clearing it on the boards to Gillies. Now Trottier ran into Don Jackson. Trottier gets the puck again and flips it into the Edmonton zone. Moog clearing it on the boards. Now taken by Yeri Curry. Trottier stole it. His shot off Moog and over top of the goal. Trottier, who's been very strong for the Auditors all night, now centering it to Bob Bourne. Back to Morrow. That shot is blocked, and Yeri Curry gives it to Anderson, number 9. Trying to go around Janssen, he did. Smith dove across and just got a piece of it. Now Trottier for New York. Doesn't hesitate at all with the Auditors in trouble and fires at the length of the ice, and it's icing now called against New York.
The speed of Glenn Anderson is really something. Well, right there at the last second, we see Andy Moog take a swipe at an Islander. Referee Andy Van Helmen warned him, but watch this move here by Trottier. He goes to his backhand. He tried to put it in the top corner, ends up going right over Andy Moog. Some good action, both end zone now, as the Oilers put on some great moves. Glenn Anderson in here, he can really skate, tries to go in from a wide angle. Billy Smith coming up with a save.
No scoring in this period. The Islanders scored in the first period as Brian Trottier and Wayne Merrick talked things over. Trottier will take the face-off against Tom Ralston. Trottier getting the draw. Now unable to clear it. Now does clear it. Held in by Huddy. His shot stopped. There's Semenko, a chance, and Smith stops Dave Semenko, who was patrolling in front of that Islander goal.
Dave Semenko, not known as a goal scorer by any stretch of the imagination, but he was ready to pounce on that loose puck right in the slot area. Take a look at it. Potvin went to try to catch it. It came loose. Semenko taking a whack at it. It bounces, but Billy Smith, as sharp as he's been tonight, makes that glove save and handles that puck quite easily.
Shots on goal in this period favoring Edmonton by a margin of 6-3. In the game, 20-16 in favor of Edmonton. But the Islanders, who have the puck now, lead the game 1-0. Number 11 is Wayne Merrick for New York. He's been used sparingly so far. Charlie Huddy breaking it up to Dave Lumley. The Oilers come back. Lumley centers to Semenko. He was too well checked in the play by Gilbert, who now has the puck for New York. Gilbert cleared it. Huddy holding it in. His shot blocked, and it bounces all the way back to the Edmonton blue line. Here is Coffey to Ralston, number 24. His long shot. Smith makes the pad save, cleared it himself. Gilbert couldn't handle it. Here's Lumley into the slot area to Coffey. He's checked, and the Islanders come up with it, and Pearson flips it to center. Paul Coffey for Edmonton. Flipping it in on left wing for Tom Ralston. Shoots! Smith a stick save. Bob Nystrom with the puck. The Islanders. Nystrom to Wayne Merrick. Merrick checked at center, and back comes Edmonton. There's Hunter moving in. His shot was wide by 2 or 3 feet. Now Ray Cote in front to Hunter. Smith got a piece of it, and Potvin down to try and cover up. But still loose. Cote now knocked down by Nystrom. Low a shot. Merrick blocks it, and now the Islanders, who are going to get a penalty, clear it to the line, and now the penalty is called, and a charging penalty against Bob Nystrom. The USA Cable Network is bringing you the Stanley Cup Finals. More action right after this.
Fresh and clean as a whistle. That's Irish Spring. Fresh and clean as a whistle.
Irish Spring's green and white stripes have 2 truly effective deodorants. 2 deodorants.
And a fine fresh scent. So you're fresh and
clean as a whistle.
That's Irish Spring deodorant soap. Gets you fresh and clean as a whistle.
We take a look at Bobby Nystrom in the penalty box. 2 minutes for charging at the 9:27 mark, but watch this action in front of the net. Dennis Potvin tried to play net. There were a number of good opportunities. That right there is where Nystrom got the penalty from. He charged, just came running in there, took a run at Cote.
May have saved a goal by doing it, too.
Yeah. He tried to clear everybody out of there.
Here are the Oilers, 0 for 4 on the power play. Gretzky back to Huddy, shooting, and Smith kicked out his right leg. And the Islanders, Trottier, who's been all over the ice for this New York club all evening, clears it down the ice and then heads for the bench. He was out to get the face-off. Goring is replacing him now as here comes Edmonton's Messier. Couldn't get around Thomas Janssen. Janssen into the Oilers zone, still controlling the puck. What a talented young player he is. Here's Billy Carroll behind the net. Huddy tying him up. And a talented young Oiler defenseman, Paul Coffey, starts back. Over to Glenn Anderson. Into the corner to Coffey. In behind the net onto the other side to Messier. Carroll checked him. Now Huddy. Into Gretzky in the corner to Mark Messier. Back to Charlie Huddy. Over to Coffey. Return to Huddy. That shot, Billy Carroll went down to block it, and over the glass the puck goes.
Just a reminder that we'll be right back here at the Northlands Coliseum Thursday night with Game 2 of this series. Be with us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific here on USA Thursday night.
Islanders are doing very well right now in their own end zone, killing this penalty. They're putting a lot of pressure on the Oilers, who like to set up behind the net and in the corner areas. They're not allowing them to do that. A lot of good forechecking by the Islanders.
Here's Huddy for Edmonton. Charlie Huddy at the right point, fired it in. Trottier there again and cleared it to center. And boy, has that Trottier played some hockey defensively particularly.
He really has, Dan, and he's been utilized so much. I think Al Arbour realizes that to score goals, he's going to have Trottier out there tonight.
Puck is shot in. Yari Curry back to get it for the Oilers. He's number 17. Headmanning it to Huddy, now to Kenny Linsman. Linsman flips it in, dashes in after it. Pearson beats him to it to Potvin, and Potvin quickly cleared it down the ice. And Edmonton have to retreat.
The Islanders are playing well at both ends here, killing this penalty. Of course, Billy Carroll, their premier penalty killer, and Butch Goring out there up front killing it.
There's a pass for Gretzky that was behind him. It goes into the New York zone. Potvin back to get it. Cleared it. Nystrom is back on, so the Islanders have killed it off. Back of the goal. Carroll able to clear it to Butch Goring. Now to Nystrom. Bob Nystrom for New York. And the puck flips up over the boards right at the Islander bench. For our local affiliates, we'll pause here. You're watching Stanley Cup hockey on USA.
Stay with us at the end of the second period here on USA. Joining me will be the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, Lee Fogelin, in an interview that we taped prior to the game. After that, we're going to take you back to New York City for the latest update from Wall Street as we take you to William Bruce and the Wall Street Journal late news. Then Dan and Gary will talk about the second period, all that's coming your way in Game 1 tonight of the Stanley Cup Championship Series. It's surprising that it's only 1-0 Oilers, but that's no bad reflection on the offensive capabilities of these teams.
8 minutes, 19 seconds left here in period number 2. It is still a 1-0 game in favor of the New York Islanders. Puck shot to the Islander line. The Islanders, Janssen now controlling up the middle to Clark Gillies. There's Moog out of the goal to grab the loose puck. I was thinking, Gary, it's got to be some time since the Oilers were blanked for, well, 32 minutes or so of a game.
It really has, Dan, and you know, a lot of people wondered about this series, whether or not we get into a shootout. I know that the Islanders were very defensive. Well, there we take a look at Mr. Palkington again. Just before that, we saw Mr. Pickett, who happens to be the owner of the New York Islanders.
So the brass are here watching their young, talented performers. Here's Pat Hughes trying to clear it in. Now Cote for the Edmonton Oilers. Ray Cote centered. Hughes deflected it wide. Hughes again, back to Gregg at the point. Gregg's shot blocked by Clark Gillies, held in by Edmonton. Here's Cote. That shot stopped by the Islanders, and the puck winds up under a glove that was lying on the ice. Here's Jackson shooting it in. Clark Gillies, number 9 for New York. Rink wide to Thomas Janssen. Janssen flipping it to center. Trottier couldn't handle it, and the Oilers' Jackson is back to get it over to Randy Gregg. Gregg, number 21, flipping it to Hughes. Hughes in across the line. Lets a shot go wide of the target. Langevin coming up with it for New York. Unable to move it, but Thomas Janssen covers up. Right wing pass into the center ice area. Shot back in by Jackson, but now Dave Langevin feeds Bob Bourne. Bourne in across the line, and as he was bumped by Fogelin, the play went offside, and Fogelin appears to be cut for the stick around the face area. Al Trotwig, by the way, in our upcoming intermission, will be talking to the Oiler captain, Lee Fogelin. His dad used to be a player in the NHL, Lee Fogelin Sr., and that will be in our second intermission. As well, we'll feature the Wall Street Journal late news. 1-0, the Islanders lead as Lee Fogelin gives it to Kenny Linsman. Linsman with a long shot. Billy Smith handling that. Clears it around to Dwayne Sutter. Back to Pearson. Now to Dennis Potvin. Flipping it to Bourne. Over to Brent Sutter. He shot it in. Andy Moog clearing it on the boards to Kevin Lowe. Checked by Bourne. Centered, but Fogelin broke it up to Willie Lindstrom. Lindstrom upended by Potvin with a solid check. Now Dennis Potvin. Bumped by Lindstrom. Here comes Brent Sutter breaking in with Dwayne Sutter on the right side, and Dwayne Sutter was offside in the play and didn't hear the whistle, let the shot go, and then a couple of the Oilers converge on the Sutter brothers.
Well, I think that perhaps that stemmed from even before this game started. There had been talk about Dwayne Sutter maybe giving Andy Moog a little trouble in this series.
We're live in Edmonton, and the Islanders lead the Oilers 1-0.
Dan Gurney and his Toyota Supra challenged Pikes Peak. This road has been challenging cars since 1916.
And sometimes it wins.
The Peak has curves that challenge Supra's independent suspension and rack and pinion steering.
Holds the road better than some race cars.
Inclines push the Supra's electronically fuel-injected twin-cam 6, the 1983 Toyota Celica Supra. It takes the right stuff to challenge the Peak.
And this is the right stuff.
Wayne Gretzky now centering Dave Semenko and Dave Lumley. The Islanders sending out that same line of Goring, Tonelli, and Nystrom to check Gretzky. Here comes Charlie Huddy for Edmonton. Checked by Tonelli. Breaking away is Goring. Puts Goring on left wing. Shoots. Mold came out and cut down the angle and made the save. The Oilers come back. Semenko breaks out on right wing to center ice. Here's Semenko's shot deflected into the corner. And Bobby Nystrom back to get the loose puck. He's checked by Gretzky. Gretzky tied to center, but Goring intercepted his pass up. Here's Lumley holding it in. Lumley again in behind the net to Gretzky. Gretzky wheels in front. Saved by Billy Smith, and Johnson cleared it away. And here comes Ken Morrow. To Nystrom. He shoots it into the Edmonton zone. Charlie Huddy back to get it. Morrow went in and took a run at him, and here is Lumley. Clearing it, it went off Huddy's skate and goes to center ice. And Morrow is back for New York. Morrow to Dwayne Sutter, who was open, but couldn't handle a pass. This is Paul Coffey. Coffey number 7 for Edmonton. Trying to go around Langevin, backhander. Smith, the save, and the fans thought that somehow the puck had gone underneath Billy Smith, but he had it all the time.
The fans weren't the only ones that thought that Paul Coffey scored. Paul Coffey thought that he scored. He raised his stick. Again, he went to the backhand. He came streaking down that right side. But Billy Smith is the guy that, well, he stops him again. Watch Coffey. All the way from his own end zone, he comes straight down that ice, goes to the right side. Therefore, he has to go to his backhand. Watch Coffey's stick. He thought he scored for sure. But Billy Smith, he comes up again with a big save.
5:01 left here in the second period. Still 1-0. The only goal back in the first period by Dwayne Sutter for the Islanders. Here's Langevin for New York. Cleared it. Over to get it is Hunter. Back to Jackson. His shot, a weak one. Blocked. Now Hunter getting it again for Edmonton. Number 12, Dave Hunter. Back of the net to Ray Cote. He's checked in the play. Now held in again by Hunter, but Langevin is able to clear the zone. Jackson for the Oilers to Hunter. Getting it in across the line. Broken up, and back comes New York as Wayne Merrick feeds Greg Gilbert, number 17. Gilbert flipped it through. Broken up, and here's Cote for the Oilers. 3-on-2 break. Pass to Hunter. Hunter circles back and now cleared it off the referee, Van Helleman, into the corner. Greg Gilbert getting it to Merrick, and he played it off the boards and down the ice. Jackson going back, and as he touches it, an icing call against the Islanders.
Difficult for Glenn Sather really to do much matchup tonight except for Goring.
In front of an SRO crowd tonight at the Civic Center in Baltimore in the Game 5 of the Eastern Finals, the Baltimore Blast defeated the Cleveland Force 8-6. That means a showdown between the San Diego Sockers, the best of the West, versus the Baltimore Blast, the beast of the East. It'll be a best of 5 for the Major Indoor Soccer League's 1983 championship, with Game 1 coming your way Friday night, 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific, live from San Diego Friday.
Here in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, 4:06 left in the second period, a 1-0 Islander lead over Edmonton. Ken Linsman against Brian Trottier on a face-off in the Edmonton zone. The Islanders win the draw, and Ken Morrow clears to Bob Bourne. Now to Trottier, ahead to Anders Kaller. Kaller trying to go around Kevin Lowe. Kaller centered it, tipped away by Linsman, and it comes to center ice. Thomas Janssen shot it away, but Fogelin gets it for Edmonton. Lee Fogelin to Messier, but the play goes offside at the Islander blue line.
You know, talking about those matchups, Dan, again, I'm not so sure that Al Arbor doesn't like Goring out there against Gretzky. That seems to be who Glenn Sather wants out there tonight. Gretzky against Goring. Lee Fogelin, again, we mentioned he will be the in-between periods guest tonight of Al Trotwick.
Face-off of the Islander line. It's Trottier with Kaller on right wing, replacing the ill Mike Bossy. Clark Gillies on the left side. Kaller is normally a left winger. Janssen back into his own zone for New York. Flips it to center to Kaller. Kaller with a pass to Thomas Janssen. Janssen into the Edmonton zone, still with the puck, and Kevin Lowe broke it up. Here's Ken Morrow at center ice. Fires a long one back in. Andy Moog pokes it over to Lee Fogelin. The Oilers trying to get on track here against the tight checking of the Islanders. In across the line to Messier. Mark Messier checked by Janssen. And now Trottier gives it to Clark Gillies. At center for Anders Kaller, number 28. Kaller flipping it ahead. The Islanders let it go as they make a line change on the fly. And Lee Fogelin, long pass at center to Gretzky. He's well checked by Pearson. Now Fogelin ahead to Jackson, or to Willie Lindstrom. Lindstrom flipping it in. Smith back of the net, quickly cleared it to John Tonelli. Tonelli on the boards, battling with Anderson, and it comes to Dennis Potvin. Now over to Stefan Pearson. Pearson checked, but recovers in time and is able to clear it away as Gretzky was forcing the play. Now Tonelli able to get it to center. Blaine Anderson for Edmonton, checked by Goring. Now Nystrom trying to get the puck. He's checked, and here's Anderson for the Oilers. Anderson cuts behind the goal. Blaine Anderson still with the puck. Now centered it. Nobody open to get to it. Here's Gretzky after it. Back to Coffey. Broken up in Goring. Flipped it to center. Coffey for the Oilers coming back. Paul Coffey checked by Goring, and Stefan Pearson takes over for New York to Dennis Potvin. Now to Pearson. Over to Potvin. At center, broken up by Coffey, and back comes Yeri Curry, number 17. Centering it. Big save by Stefan Gretzky. And there's the big playoff winner, Billy Smith, at his very best.
At his very best he is tonight, because now he stops the great one once again tonight. Yari Curry, beautiful pass here right across the goal mouth area to Gretzky. Gretzky thought, I'm sure, that was going to be up and over Smith, but Smith sprawls from his left to his right, uses those pads, and is able to once again stop number 99, Wayne Gretzky. Let's take another look at it. Good play here by Smith. Nystrom, he didn't quite have Wayne Gretzky covered.
That's why Billy Smith, in his 99th Stanley Cup playoff game tonight, has shut the Oilers out so far and has a lifetime average of 2.76 in the playoffs. Here's Gregg with a shot that goes away up high into the crowd. And we'll have a face-off now just inside the Edmonton blue line as we look at the bearded Dr. Randy Gregg of the Edmonton Oilers.
The thing that makes it very difficult for any hockey club, and even the Oilers tonight, is that the Islanders always take a piece of the body. They are doing that in their own end zone, especially well tonight. The Oilers are feeling the effects of it. They can't quite put the puck in the net, and of course Billy Smith has a lot to do with that as well.
On the face-off, it is Brent Sutter winning the draw to Morrow, stolen by Pat Hughes. Hughes trying to center, but Brent Sutter came back now to Bob Bourne. Over on right wing to Ken Morrow. Morrow cleared it to center. Knocking it down was Hunter. And here comes Cote, number 14. Ray Cote shooting well wide of the target with that shot. Pat Hughes for the Oilers to Cote. He got it in front. It comes to Gregg. Randy Gregg centers one. Nobody could get to it. And Dwayne Sutter shoots it to center for the Islanders. And going back is Gregg for Edmonton. Gregg clearing it. A minute left here in the second period. No scoring in this period, and the Islanders lead 1-0. It's Hunter for Edmonton. Moving in on left wing, shoots it on the boards. Clark Gillies knocking it down, giving it to Thomas Janssen. Over to Morrow. Morrow to Brent Sutter, who flips it in. Mold back of the goal, giving it to Jackson. Headmanning it now to Messier. He shoots it into the Islander zone. Potvin back to get it. Now stolen, centered out in front by Linsman, but Persson was there to Clark Gillies, and the Islanders attack. In across the line, Keller to Trottier, to Gillies, who couldn't get a shot away. Now Trottier checked in the corner, and here's Kevin Lowe with 15 seconds left in the period. To Messier, now to Fogelin. Drop pass right onto an Islander stick, and Gillies was able to flip it out, and it hit the linesman and bounced over the boards. You're seeing, Gary, why the Islanders were the best defensive team in hockey this year. They blanked the high-scoring Oilers, who, of course, set a record with more goals this regular season than any other team ever before.
It is very surprising, again, keeping the Oilers off the scoreboard. It looks for 2 complete periods, 5 seconds remaining in the second period. We'll have to watch, see whether or not the Oilers can break out in the third period. It would be amazing, Dan, if they held them under 3 goals.
Here is Tonelli at center ice to Fogelin. He shoots it in, and there's the buzzer to end the second period. Shots on goal in that second period. The Oilers had 12, and the New York Islanders had 5. In the game, the Oilers outshooting the Islanders 26-18. Coming up in our intermission, you'll meet the Edmonton team captain and veteran defenseman Lee Fogelin as he visits with Al Trudwick. After 2 periods of play here in Edmonton, the New York Islanders won, the Edmonton Oilers nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the National Hockey League, Mr. John A. Ziegler, Jr.
The National Hockey League, along with other professional sports organizations, supports the President's Sports Drug Education Program. The goal of this program is simple. It is to keep our young people free from drugs. I'd like you to listen to a lady who really cares. She's given a great deal of her time to this program, Nancy Reagan.
Thank you, John. You're right. I do care. And I'm greatly concerned about the epidemic use of drugs by school-age children. Sports figures, especially hockey players who are so respected by our young people, can help lead the way in our fight to defeat drug abuse. I'm so pleased that NHL players like Wayne Gretzky, Mike Bossy, and Rod Langway have joined this effort. Together, we'll make a great team, and together, we'll win this fight.
You'll play ball with the American League's MVP on the next edition of USA's Thursday Night Baseball. Super shortstop Robin Yount.
Beautifully turned twin killing. A surprisingly low game after 2 periods, but there have been plenty of chances for both sides. Islanders 1, Oilers nothing at the end of 2 periods as we continue live from Edmonton, Alberta. And on the rafters of the Northlands Coliseum, the banners of the winners so far, the Smythe Division champions and the Campbell Conference winners, the Oilers so far in this playoffs. But as we've mentioned so many times before, it very well may be a lost season for this team unless they lay claim to the Stanley Cup. We now take you back to New York City, where we check in with William Bruce as he tells us what has happened on Wall Street today with the Wall Street Journal Late News via satellite.
Was raising its stake there by building another hotel casino. The estimated price tag on the 1,000-room facility will be $185 million. This will be another big year for wheat production. Tonight's Stanley Cup championship game.
After a scoreless second period, the score remains as it was at the end of the first period. 1-0 for the New York Islanders over the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1 of this best-of-7 for the 1983 Stanley Cup Championship Series. Because of the Mountain Time start of tonight's hockey game, we do remind you that Radio 1990 and Hotspots, originally scheduled for 11 p.m. Eastern Time on USA Tonight, that'll be coming your way at midnight Eastern Time, 9 on the West Coast. So stay tuned after hockey for Radio 1990 and Hotspots. After 2 periods of play here in Edmonton, Alberta, you'd have to think we're a little surprised that we haven't seen more goals go in the net. But after some of the saves that Billy Smith and Andy Moog had made in that second period, we are not surprised. The opportunities have been there, and if any other goaltenders had been in the net, this score would probably be higher. We now go up to Dan Kelly and Gary Green as they tell us what happened on the ice in that second period.
Okay, Al, I don't know if it would be surprise because the Islanders were the best defensive team all season long. The Oilers were the highest scoring team. They have not been able to penetrate the Islander defense, and the Oilers, of course, in the playoffs have been the highest scoring club. So you're just seeing some great defense, and that Billy Smith at his playoff best again.
Yeah, but Dan, I would have bet you all the tea in China, though, that the Oilers would have scored at least a couple of goals in the first 2 periods, but that they haven't. And again, you mentioned Billy Smith. He has just been awesome tonight. I've watched him play in 10 playoff games so far, and I think there's something different about him tonight. He's chopping away at players, which we didn't see previously in playoffs this year, and he's also jumping up and down. You can just tell he's ready to end this series, or end this game and this whole series, the finals, on a winning note. He just feels it inside of him, and that confidence has got to rub off on all the players.
His best save of the period came on hockey's greatest scorer, Wayne Gretzky, and just a marvelous save by Smith.
Well, that it was, but a beautiful pass here by Jari Kurri. He knows where Wayne Gretzky is going to be. Nystrom didn't quite have Gretzky, and you've got to keep him close, but what a save by Billy Smith. I mean, he just stole it right away from Gretzky, and not too many goaltenders steal that type of a play away from Wayne Gretzky. Usually it's in the net.
When you have shut down a team like the Oilers for 2 periods without giving up a goal, there are other players who are doing some things defensively besides the goaltender. Who have got your eye?
Well, Dennis Potvin, I just think, has been awesome out there tonight, Dan. He is an excellent defenseman anyway. Everyone knows that, but tonight he has done all the things right out there. Their whole hockey club. Dave Langevin, for considering he's been out for so long and is probably still not 100%, he has come in and played surprisingly well. But their forwards, give them a lot of credit. Trottier is working so hard out there, as usual, playing a lot, but the way that he works your own end zone, especially out there, digging in those corners, helping your defenseman out, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Only a 1-0 game as we await the start of the 3rd period. You mentioned Trottier. With Bossy out of there, people sometimes forget that Trottier, because of his great playmaking ability, his great scoring ability, is one of the best two-way hockey players in this business.
No question. What a leader this guy is, Dan. No doubt he misses Mike Bossy, but that doesn't stop the way that he plays. I mean, he is going to go out there and give you 110%, work both ends of the rink out there, and he is going to set up other guys. And tonight, though, I think Al Arbour knows that 1 goal, that's good enough to win as long as you keep the opposition off. Trottier will help you in both departments.
Let's go back to the first period and show you the only goal we've had in this game. It was scored by Dwayne Sutter.
Well, again, let's mention again that Dwayne Sutter parks himself right over where no Oiler defenseman is at the time. 2 Oiler defensemen were caught over to Andy Moog's right-hand side. Now, again, we kind of blame Moog on that because of the fact he didn't cover up on that rebound. He really gave a trickler away, but again, isn't it so easy to blame goaltenders?
Yeah, and he'd had 2 rebounds before that to try and handle. That's the story. A very exciting 1-0 lead here for the New York Islanders after 2 periods over the Edmonton Oilers.
Around here, it's still early to bed and early to rise. We just try not to overdo it.
Welcome to Miller Time. It's all yours, and it's all mine. Bring your thirsty self right here. You've got the time, we've got the beer for what you have in mind. Oh, welcome to Miller Time.
The best beer for the best time of the day. Miller High Life.
In the hard-hitting game of hockey, you need all the protection you can get.
Cooperall from Cooper. On the outside, it's a great new look. And on the inside, it gives you freedom of movement and a comfortable fit. Cooperall protects where you need it most. Specially shaped lightweight pads protect thighs, hips, kidneys, and tailbone. And when we protect you better, you can play better. Cooperall, another reason the world plays hockey with Cooper.
Al Troutwig along with Dan Kelly and Gary Green back in our USA Network studio, moments away from the third period. And the Edmonton Oilers heavily out shooting the New York Islanders in that second period. But as you caught a glimpse of only one of the many saves that Billy Smith made, the Islanders have come up big defensively and have shut down the Oilers so far in this game. There was no scoring in that second period, but as we told you, the only Islander goal scored by Dwayne Sutter, his 8th of the playoffs, and the Islanders now have to sit back and dig in. They're 20 minutes away from taking this the first game, and Dan Kelly and Gary Green are upstairs waiting to tell us it play-by-play.
Okay, Al Troutwig, an interesting statistic. The teams that has the home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup Final has won 33 of the last 44 series since 1938-39, and the Edmonton Oilers have home ice advantage in this Stanley Cup Final, but right now they have been completely blanked for 40 minutes by the Islanders, the Stanley Cup champions of the last 3 years, trying to make it 4th in a row, and it's 1-0 for New York.
Dan, taking a look at those first 2 periods, amazing statistic. The Coffey has had 3 shots, Anderson 5, Gretzky 4. That's 12 shots from 3 great scorers on this Edmonton team, and yet they still remain blanked on that scoreboard. They can't put them by Billy Smith, not even the great scores for the Oilers so far in 2 periods. Let's watch out, though, for this third.
Another statistic, the Islanders are attempting to become only the second club in the 66-year history of the NHL to win 4 consecutive Stanley Cups. The Montreal Canadiens, of course, have done it twice previously. As a matter of fact, once the Canadiens won 5 in a row. Here we go with the third period, and it should be something to see, so stay with us on USA. The Islanders get immediate possession, and it's cleared by Stephen Curson off the boards. A pass intended that was off the mark. That goes all the way down the ice, and an icing call against New York. Gary, let me ask you something else. We've talked a lot about the Islanders' poise and their defensive ability. Is Edmonton off its game at all after that weak layoff?
I think they are, Dan. I didn't think it would affect them all that much, but they have not played the way that they played in the Chicago series or the Calgary series or the Winnipeg series. Not as of yet. But again, it's difficult to judge how much the Islanders have to do with that, because the Islanders are such a great close-checking hockey club, and they always take a piece for the man.
There's Gregg for Edmonton. Flipping it in behind the goal. Persson over to pick it up. Flipped it on the boards. Held in by the Oilers again as they try and bunch up. Persson now knocking down Cote on the play, and Persson pins Cote in against the boards, and we'll have a face-off.
You notice in the Islanders system that so often Cote, Trottier, well, Trottier with the Islanders always right in the corner helping. He was doing a real job on Cote. Here's the young man that was headed home for his summer job. He played on Moncton, the American Hockey League team, Edmonton's farm club this year. He never expected that he would be in the Stanley Cup Finals.
93 points with that Moncton club, and let me tell you something. If he wins the Stanley Cup, that money can let him take the whole summer out.
No question about that one, Dan, and he has played very well and played almost every shift.
Here's Jackson as Gretzky got the draw, and Jackson's shot was just wide. Now Bourne flips it to center. Jackson over to Gregg, stolen by Nystrom, but back-checking was Yeri Curry, number 17. Here comes Curry. Checked in the play by Morrow, and then Nystrom shot at the center. Gregg to Glenn Anderson, breaking through. Thomas Johnson upended him, and Johnson, who gets the puck, now will get a penalty. And Edmonton will have a big chance here on the power play. Coast-to-coast coverage of the National Hockey League is only on USA.
Thank you. And here's your room guarantee. And only Holiday Inn gives you this no excuses guarantee. Everything in your room will be right, or we'll make it right. No excuses. Or that night you stay free. Enjoy your stay.
Thank you.
You don't get this guarantee from any other hotel chain. Not any one of them. And this guarantee comes from every one of us at Holiday Inn to you, because we want to take care of you. We give you a guarantee, not excuses.
Thomas Janssen gets a hooking penalty here at the 51-second mark. And Edmonton 0 for 5 in this game on the power play have a chance here.
Thomas Johnson had pulled down Glenn Anderson. You watching this series, Glenn Anderson's going to draw a lot of penalties. He is so fast.
Here's Anderson intercepting a clearing pass over to Coffey. Back to number 9, Anderson. Back to Paul Coffey. Coffey being watched by Goring, gives it to Curry. Behind the net to Gretzky. Gretzky in front to Messier. Rache cleared it. Now Gretzky to Curry, over to Coffey. That shot just wide. Here's Messier. Couldn't center it. And Butch Goring gets it for New York. Clearing it. Got it outside the line. And Curry flips it over to Paul Coffey. Coffey firing it in as the Oilers try and bottle up the Islanders on this power play chance. Here's Curry. Back to Anderson at the point. To Yeri Curry. His shot hit Pearson. Now Messier. To Gretzky behind the goal. Now to Messier. Over to Curry. Back to the point, and the shot by Coffey blocked by Potvin and cleared down the ice.
Again, Al Arbour with his penalty-killing crew right now are cutting off Gretzky as much as they can behind that net.
Here's Anderson moving in with a shot wide. Cleared by the Islanders. Gretzky intercepting it. Here's Gretzky back to Curry. Shooting. Smith kicked out his right leg and made another key save. Here's Billy Carroll flipping it through, and Paul Coffey has it for Edmonton. 38 seconds left in the penalty. Coffey into Gretzky. Broken up by Bourne. Held in by Coffey. His pass intercepted by Morrow, and then Bourne cleared it down the ice. And some excellent penalty killing by the Islanders.
They have frustrated the Oiler power play so far tonight. That's a job very few teams have been able to do.
Here is Kenny Linsman speeding in around the defense. Smith dives out, made the save, and then is able to smother a loose puck. And Smith took a chance, and it worked.
Taking a chance. Well, he gambles sometimes, Dan, but I gladly bring him to Las Vegas with me because usually his gambling pays off. Watch Linsman as he streaks down that right side, cuts in. Linsman can't quite pull him down, even though he's hooking him. But watch here. The puck seems to be loose. Semenko's trying to dig at it, but once Billy Smith has got his glove on that puck, nobody's going to get it. Well, watch again from an upstairs angle here. We watch how Linsman cuts in, but look at Smith. That's where he gambles. He goes down. He sees that Linsman's on his backhand, maybe a little bit off balance, and is probably not going to be able to get it upstairs on his backhand. He was right.
From the face-off, Linsman and Langevin. Now the Oilers. Lumley getting the puck to Kevin Lowe at the point. That shot blocked by Goring. Here's Fogelin to Linsman. Kenny Linsman for Edmonton on this power play. Now the Islanders have killed it off. They're back at full strength. And here's Janssen just out of the penalty box, flipping it to center. Fogelin giving it to Kevin Lowe. Back to Fogelin. Now to Linsman, number 13. In on left wing to Dave Lumley. Lumley trying to make a play. Dropped it back, and it comes to center. And Fogelin has to go back. And now Lumley and Clark Gillies have some words at the blue line and have to be separated. The Islanders lead this game in the third period, 1-0.
You know, for my money, every pair of slacks ought to be this comfortable. These are Levi's Action slacks. I own 4 pair now, and I'm convinced they may be the most comfortable slacks a man can wear. First, they have a hidden stretch waistband. It's a great invention. Second, the fabric gives for even more comfort. And now Levi's Action slacks will stay pressed. A washable permanent press that really stays pressed. You try them.
Well, we had penalties on that last play to Clark Gillies and Dave Lumley. Each get slashing penalties. 3:18 the time here of the third period.
Well, as a result, teams are going to be playing 4 aside. That tends to be perhaps in the favor a little bit more so for the Edmonton Oilers, who maybe are just a little bit better skaters.
They're supposed to have the speed, and they need a goal, so this could give them a little bit of an edge here. Meanwhile, Pearson clears one to Keller all the way into the Edmonton zone. Back to get it is Don Jackson. Now to Wayne Gretzky. Into the center ice area to Yeri Curry, number 17. Curry trying to hold it. Now picks it to Gregg in front to Gretzky. The pass just behind him. Drop back to Jackson. Into the corner to Gretzky. Gretzky centered, and there's Trottier. Positioned perfectly. Fell, gets up again, makes a magnificent turnaround, and then cleared it, and the Islanders get out of trouble.
The Islanders have really cut off those short passes that the Oilers like to utilize in the Islander end zone, especially those going into the slot area, giving them better scoring opportunities. Islanders really can anticipate well, especially a key guy like Brian Trottier.
A key guy for the Oilers is number 99. 12 goals in the playoffs and 35 scoring points, which is just one shy of Mike Bossy's playoff record of 35 set a couple of years ago. Here's Thomas Johnsson. Each team a man short. Johnsson, who's played a very strong game for the Islanders, gives it to Bourne. Bob Bourne into Brent Sutter. Cleared away by Andy Moog, and Anderson has it for Edmonton. Number 9, Glenn Anderson. Headmanning it to Charlie Huddy. In on right wing to Gretzky, and the play goes offside. On the play is now Anderson and Brent Sutter have some words and push at each other on the board.
I thought initially that we were going to have a real Donnybrook between Anderson and Brent Sutter, but I believe that Anderson may have got a stick in the face and it curtailed him.
For our local affiliates, we'll pause here. You're watching Stanley Cup hockey on USA.
This week, USA's Thursday Night Baseball emanates from County Stadium in Milwaukee as Robin Yount, Cecil Cooper, Gorman Thomas, and the rest of Harvey's wall-banging Brewers battle the surprising Boston Red Sox. With Jim Rice hitting again and Wade Boggs picking up the offense as he did last season, the Red Sox are making waves in the American League East. Game time is set for midnight Eastern, right after hockey, here on USA Thursday.
Well, penalties on that last play. Anderson is going to get a penalty for the Edmonton Oilers. He joins Dave Lumley.
Well, take a look at here. Brent Sutter, I believe, and that's where it all started. Anderson turned around, gave him a glove right perhaps in the head, but I think, again, that Brent Sutter may have got his stick up high. Glenn Anderson receiving that stick in the face.
Well, they called it hooking against Brent Sutter, elbowing against Anderson, 4:27 the time, and now each team will be 2 men short. Well, see them skating away to the corner of your picture? Well, they were all tangled up, and that's where they just about got into it. Now back to the live action as the Oilers break up a play, and Butch Goring circles at center. Goring, number 91, dropping it over to Johnsson, number 3. Each team 2 men short. Plenty of skating room out there now. Coffey tied up by Butch Goring. Goring lost the puck, and here's Coffey. Morrow comes over and made a good play to check him. Now Gretzky into Coffey. Coffey to Gretzky in front, and Gretzky was stymied by Smith again. Here's Gretzky centering one. It goes off a skate and deflects back into the Edmonton zone. Gretzky really didn't get a shot away. The goaltender Smith kind of took him out of the play.
Maybe even tripped him, Dan.
Here's Coffey for Edmonton. Trying to center it. Now the team's just 1 man short as Bourne. Headmans it to Clark Gillies. Gillies for New York. Shoots one, and a tough save by Moog on a high shot. Now clearing pass comes right to Bourne. Bourne back to Persson. Persson takes the shot. Fired it in front. Charlie Huddy knocked it down. A quick pass to Gretzky. Over to Mark Messier. Messier's shot stopped by Potvin. And the puck is poked to center by Bob Bourne. Each team a man short as the Oilers, Kevin Lowe, flips it into the Islander zone. Tonelli couldn't clear it, but Persson was there, and now Dennis Potvin passing to John Tonelli. Tonelli moving in on left wing. Vogelin ties him up. Now Tonelli dropping it back, and the puck comes all the way to the Islander blue line, and Ken Morrow, number 6, takes over into the center ice area to Tonelli, ahead to Wayne Merritt. Now to Johnsson. Thomas Johnsson shoots one off low stick and up high into the crowd.
Interesting stat for tonight. The Islanders have iced the puck 6 times compared to the Oilers 1. Many people consider that the Oilers are much like the Soviets. who don't ice the puck much. They keep possession of it. The Islanders, on the other hand, when under any pressure, they make sure they get her down. Let's take a look right here. Gretzky had possession of the puck. As Dan said, he didn't get off his shot, but I think Billy Smith, when he came out with his pads there, he tripped up Mr. Gretzky.
When Smith doesn't stop the shot, he takes the man out of the play. He has done it all in this game. 2 seconds only remaining in the penalties to Brent Sutter and to Glenn Anderson. Face-off going to be in the Edmonton zone. 13 minutes, 35 seconds left in the third period. Still 1-0 Islanders. Penalized players back on as Don Jackson for Edmonton shoots it into the Islander zone. Ken Morrow back to get it. Morrow out of Bowling Green University and a player on that United States gold medal winning Olympic team. Cleared it. Now it's at center ice. Taken by Trottier. Brian Trottier. Controlling the puck beautifully. Fired it behind the goal. Moog cleared it away. Trottier's there again. Trottier and Gregg. Now Cote trying to clear one and does. Play it off the boards into the New York zone. Persson going back. Stefan Persson over to his fellow Swedish countryman Thomas Jansson. Jansson trying to dipsy-doodle through the defense. Jackson checked him, and it's cleared out by the Oilers. Held in by Greg Gilbert for the Islanders. Now Pat Hughes for the Oilers, who try and break this shutout and tie the game up. Over to Ray Cote. Cote dropping it to Hunter. His shot was weak and wide by 2 or 3 feet. Persson clearing it on the boards, and Anders Kaller now flips it to center ice. This is Huddy for Edmonton over to Coffey. Paul Coffey moves in. His shot blocked by Persson, and Goring took a hit but flipped the puck to center. Stolen by Pinelli. Pinelli against Huddy, and Huddy blocked the shot. Here's Anderson. At center ice to Gretzky. Gretzky shooting. Langevin the save. Now backhander by Anderson. Smith the save. Centering pass cleared by Smith. And Pinelli for New York gets it out of the zone. There's Yari Curry. Checked by Pinelli again, who shoots it into the Edmonton end of the ring. Charlie Huddy back to get it to Paul Coffey. Nystrom ties him up, and now Gretzky circles back in the Edmonton zone. He's watched by Goring, who centered it to Pinelli. Big save by Moog. Big pile up, and Andy Moog with a game saver for the Oilers, perhaps. We're live at Edmonton, Alberta, where the Islanders still hold a slim 1-0 lead.
Introducing the new front-wheel drive Toyota Camry. It does not have a fireplace, but it does have living room, elbow room, headroom, tow room, family room. For families who are a size above average, for families who like to spread out. There's lots of feet for your feet, lots of living room for anyone, and a tough new engine with quick pickup and great mileage. The new Toyota Camry, not just the family car, the family Camry.
Oh, what a feeling, Camry. Toyota.
You want to know what Stanley Cup playoff hockey is all about? You are a living witness.
Great goaltending, both ends. Moog coming up with some key saves there. Goring, Nystrom, and Pinelli putting on some real pressure.
Here's a chance for Brent Sutter, and Moog with a top save. Now Brent Sutter and Fogelin in the corner. Puck is taken by Lindstrom for Edmonton. That's center to Lowe. Lowe in on left wing to Messier. It's offside. The whole play was offside, and Smith just stepped out of that crease and let Messier put it in the empty net.
A lot of the fans in this building didn't hear that whistle go. They thought Messier scored for sure. They might have known Billy Smith would have given him a tougher time than that. Take a look, though. And Messier, they say it was offside. Now, they say he was offside.
Here's Morrow for New York. Flipping it in. Fogelin back to get it. Cleared it on the boards. Messier coming up with it. He's checked in the play now. Bourne centered one, but Kenny Linsman intercepts. Shot it to center. Janssen knocks that down. Here's Fogelin at the line. Cleared it to the outer line. Janssen shot it back out, and here's Lowe for Edmonton. The Oilers flip it in. Lindstrom back of the net, can't get it as Brent Sutter comes up with it to Ken Morrow. Morrow shooting it off the boards, and the Islanders are content to take an icing call and to face off in their zone. That's how confident they are that a Trottier or one of their key face-off men can win the draw.
Usually Al Arbor sends out two center icemen, usually Trottier and Goring, when face-offs are deep in their end zone. We had mentioned the icing calls that they have taken. They'll continue to take them. They're not the least bit concerned. You take a look at Willie Lindstrom. Lindstrom, being acquired from the Winnipeg Jets this year, has fit into this Oilers style of play very, very well, along with his center iceman, Kenny Lindstrom.
Ray Cote against Brian Trottier on this faceoff. 10:30 left as the puck comes near Smith. He cleared it to Bourne. Now to Trottier. Trottier tied up by Cote, got it near the Edmonton line, and Gregg feeds Don Jackson. Jackson pass at center to Cote. Cote getting it into Hunter in the corner. Pearson and Hunter battle for it. Now the puck taken by Don Jackson. Jackson got it in front, but shot wide. Here's Hughes behind the goal to Hunter. Hunter unable to center it as Pearson tied him up. Here's Jackson, did center it. Smith cleared it away. Gregg at the point. Trottier blocks that shot, and Trottier stick handles his way to center ice. Knocked down, right back from the Oilers with Hunter on the attack. In front to Hughes, he couldn't handle it. And Potvin for the Islanders clears it down the ice. And this is going to be the fourth icing call in this period against the Islanders, but they are content to take it.
This best-of-7 chase for the Stanley Cup of 1983 will continue on USA Thursday night with Game 2. We'll be right back here at the Northlands Coliseum. Be with us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, on the network of the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs Thursday night.
Now 9 minutes and 36 seconds left in regulation time. You see the Islander bench. 1-0 Islander lead.
And something the Oilers, I'm very surprised tonight. They have got great poise. We knew that perhaps coming in. Wondered how they'd face up against the Islanders. They have not panicked because they haven't scored. They have kept still, 3 men back, 2 men in forechecking, but haven't got overly aggressive.
Here's Curry, a shot from the faceoff, and a big save by Smith again. Curry now back to Huddy. That shot, Smith came out and kicked that into the corner. Now Yeri Curry in front. Anderson shot high off the glass. And Janssen is able to clear it to Butch Goring, who shoots it to the Edmonton line. Coffey back to get it to Charlie Huddy. The Oilers feed Coffey. Now into Gretzky on right wing. Gretzky stops. Centered Anderson. Shot it wide in the open net. There's Huddy at the point to Gretzky behind the goal. He's tied up, and Morrow cleared it on the boards. Now Huddy flips it in, and Janssen clears one over the glass. And Glenn Anderson just missed a wide open net for the Oilers.
He missed it. He sure did miss it. Gretzky fed him with a beautiful pass. Take a look at it. Billy Smith was down as well. This was a sure goal for Anderson. He's positioned beautifully. Smith is way too far over to his left, but Anderson shoots wide. How he missed that open net, he won't even know.
Glenn Anderson had the big chance and just missed. Now we're down to 8:53 left in regulation time. That's the last faceoff as Curry got away a wicked shot. Now here we go to a live faceoff, and the Islanders win it this time, and Potvin cleared it onto the boards. Brent Sutter now coming up with it, dropping it to Pearson. Pearson behind his own goal. Circles, now carries out on the right side. Lost it to Messier. Shoots, Smith to save, rebound. Smith another save on Lindstrom by Billy Smith, who is robbing the Oilers here in this third period. Oh, Edmonton with 3 great chances there. Now Pearson for New York. Broken up by Kevin Lowe and shot back in. Billy Smith has lost his mask and his helmet. Potvin notices that and clears it down the ice. And another icing call, but Smith will get a chance to get his helmet and his mask. Oh, and a couple of miraculous saves there by the native of Perth, Ontario, the big clutch goaltender in the playoffs, Billy Smith.
He has been absolutely brilliant. We're going to run out of words to describe him. Let's take a look at this action in front of the net. Oilers getting frustrated here. Lindsman But watch Brent Sutter. Brent Sutter comes in, and he's even going to help Billy Smith play net tonight. I don't think he needs it, not the way he's playing. Well, let's watch again from an upstairs angle. Smith bobbled that rebound. He was trying to clear it out, but yet he was still able to dive, make the save. He's got way out of his net. Brent Sutter comes in and helps out. These Islanders, what a team they are. They're always back helping each other out. That's the name of the game. You've got a good hockey club. You fill in the gaps for each other.
Billy Smith and Andy Van Helven, the referee, talk over things. Smith apparently has, when he lost that helmet, something wrong with his helmet and wants to go to the Islander bench. I also know that he'd like a little breather.
That he would, Dan, but right now, where he's getting that breather because he's getting a little bit of a drink.
The crazy world of professional wrestling grapples its way back to the USA screen tomorrow night from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. The feature brings together Andre the Giant and Big John Studd. Also, a battle between Rocky Johnson and the magnificent Morocco. It all comes your way at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night, right here on USA.
Billy Smith over at the Islander bench with a helmet problem, and he has that now rectified and is ready to resume his duties in the Islander goal, where he has been brilliant. He has shut down the Oilers, or the Oilers, I should say, for 42 minutes.
Well, watch Messier as he takes that shot. Smith goes to try and bat it away. He couldn't quite do it. Somewhere in the midst of all this action, he loses his helmet.
Now back to the live action as the Islanders block the shot, and here comes Anders Kaller, dropping it to Trotze, back to Kaller behind the goal. Kaller out in front, drops it to Bourne. Bourne shoots one. Greg stops that. Here's Trotze to Janssen. A drive, and he just missed with that shot. Dave Langevin held it in behind the goal to Bourne. Bourne is taken out of the play. The Oilers trying to work it along the boards, but Trotze held it there. I said Billy Smith had shut down the Oilers for 42 minutes. He's done it now for over 52 minutes.
Right now, though, as well, back in the Oilers' end zone, they have also played very well defensively. Billy Smith's counterpart tonight, the guy that he's trying to outplay, Andy Moog. Al Arbor right now probably a little concerned that this one-goal lead might not be enough against an explosive team like these Edmonton Oilers.
There is a loose puck on the boards. Jam up at center ice. The Oilers copy coming up with it, flipping it in. Dennis Potvin there for New York. Potvin clearing it to Clark Gillies. He played it off the boards. Gretzky comes right back. He feeds Gary Curry, shooting. He shot that just wide. Now Gretzky in the corner. Gets it back to the point. Huddy with a drive, and he fired that wide. Huddy again as the Oilers try and put some pressure on. Anderson holding it in. Flipping it on the boards. Gillies couldn't clear it. Here's Gretzky trying to work from the corner. Centered it out in front, and there was Anders Kaller to tip it down into the Edmonton zone. Less than 7 minutes left in regulation time. 1-0 for the Islanders as Paul Coffey circles in his own zone. Coffey shot it near the Islander line. Janssen knocks that down to Tonelli. Here's John Tonelli moving into the Edmonton zone. Checks in the play. And back comes Curry to Paul Coffey. Coffey into the Islander zone. Shoots one off a leg and into the corner. Anderson tried to center. Does. Coffey shot it wide from the slot. Huddy now to Gretzky. Centering it, and Butch Goring breaks that up. And here comes Goring, number 91, for the Islanders. Into Bob Nystrom. Nystrom trying to center one. Does. Tipped away. And back comes Gretzky. 2-on-2 break. Gretzky with Anderson. Gretzky shoots. Smith a save on Wayne Gretzky. Now, Willie Lindstrom shot wide. Here's Gretzky behind the net. Tried a centering pass. Broken up, and Lindstrom tried to center it. Langevin knocked it away. Here's Lee Fogelin for Edmonton. He gets it to Messier. Goring comes over to check him. Now Lindstrom in front to Lowe. Backhander. Smith, a sprawling save. smothered the rebound. More miracles from Billy Smith. And for our local affiliates, we'll pause here on the USA Cable Network.
This is high drama hockey, that is for sure. Billy Smith coming up big in this third period, but you have to wonder how long the Islanders can continue to absorb the shots being peppered at Billy Smith by this awesome Oiler offense. So we look forward to the end of this game and a potential Stanley Cup star. Right now, Billy Smith, Brian Trotier's had a fantastic game. Wayne Gretzky has been spectacular, even though the Oilers don't lead right now. This game has a fantastic climax coming up, and you certainly will be watching.
5 minutes, 31 seconds left in regulation time. Lynchman wins the face-off to Fogelin. That shot deflected just wide. Now Dennis Potvin in the corner. Here's Messier trying to flip it in front. Trottier cleared it away. Now Messier. Being checked by Trottier, gets it to Lynchman, back to Messier. Mark Messier shot it in behind the goal, and there's Smith out of the net to poke it away. Messier shooting it around in the boards. Fogelin and Bourne battle for it. Trottier comes up with it. He cleared it to Brent Sutter, and the puck goes into the Edmonton zone. Kevin Lowe back to get it. To Messier off his skate, and now here is Bourne. For New York, Bourne into Brent Sutter. Brent Sutter flipped it back to the goal, and then Fogelin knocked him fly. Here's Brent Sutter intercepting a pass. Sutter for New York out in front, tried a backhander. Lowe blocks that. Now Dwayne Sutter battling behind the goal. But Hunter comes up with the puck. Brent Sutter checked in. And finally, the Oilers get it to Sutter. Some great forechecking there by the Islanders. Here's Potvin shooting it in. The Oilers with 4:20 left in regulation time. Work it to Lee Fogelin. He dumps it in, and the play is called on an offside at the New York Islander blue line.
Well, Dan, I think we're going to run out of things to say as far as how brilliant this man, number 31, Billy Smith, has played in these nets tonight. 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Let's take a look at that save. Kevin Lowe walked right into the slot area, but unfortunately for the Oilers, hit the post. The puck came out, and Smith was able to fall back and somehow end up on top of that puck, eliminating any more opportunities for the Oilers to try and poke it in.
32-year-old Billy Smith in his 12th NHL season, and he has shut down the highest scoring team in hockey history here in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final for close to 56 minutes. It is 1-0 for the Islanders. The only goal back in the first period by Dwayne Sutter. Here's Don Jackson for Edmonton shooting it in. Thomas Johnson for the Islanders is there to clear it. Now Hunter trying to drop it back to Jackson. That shot blocked. Now Cote centered one. The pass behind Hughes. Here's Hunter. In front for Cote. His shot. Smith juggled it. Held onto it. Was going to flip it away and then said, no, I'll hold it. And we'll have another rest.
It looked as though Smith was going to throw it baseball style. Anders Haller was waiting there with his hands open. He thought Smith was going to throw it right at him. Again, Smith just continues to frustrate these Edmonton Oilers, who are so used to and perhaps a little spoiled at scoring a great number of goals, record-setting paces they've been on to. They have yet to put one by Billy Smith this evening.
Smith, by the way, coming into this game tonight, a career record in the playoffs of 69 wins, 24 losses, and a 2.76 playoff average. That's a a 7.42 winning percentage. Here are the Oilers with Gretzky at the side of the net. Unable to tip it in, and back comes Dennis Potvin to Bourne at center ice. Bob Bourne gets around Coffey, fell down, gets up again. Tried to center, does to Keller. Keller back to Bourne. Bourne flipping it to Trottier. Off his skate, and Pearson gives it to Potvin, stolen by Gretzky. Gretzky moving in, shoots, and Smith, a stick save. Now centered by Curry, and Smith then cleared it away and batted it over the glass into the crowd with 3:17 left in regulation time.
Wayne Gretzky skating by Andy Van Helmen. He was hoping to catch his ear for perhaps a delay of the game. Let's take a watch as Wayne Gretzky gets possession of the puck. The great one trying desperately to move into scoring position as he goes around Stephen Pearson. But no such luck. He does get a shot away, however, in that slot area. But that one wasn't quite tricky enough to fool Billy Smith, not the way that he has played tonight.
The Oilers have outshot the Islanders 35-21. Smith has been flawless in goal, and the Islanders got an early goal in the first period from Dwayne Sutter and lead it 1-0. Remember, this Edmonton team in the regular season, 424 goals. More goals than any team has ever scored in the National Hockey League in one season. Here's Pogulin to Lowe. Lowe at the point for the shot. Smith tipped it away, and Ken Morrow clears to Bob Nystrom. Nystrom, number 23, to Bourne. He missed the pass, and the puck comes into the Edmonton zone. Pogulin back to get it now with 3 minutes left in the third period. Here's Lowe. Couldn't get by Nystrom. Nystrom holding it in, and Pogulin circles back, shooting it off the boards. Now it's Messier ahead to Linsman. Kenny Linsman across the line, and Butch Goring was there defensively to clear it away. Poor New York. Pogulin back to get it to Kevin Lowe. Now into the center ice area to... Oh, it's shot in, and Janssen cleared it right back out. Messier tried to get it to Lindstrom. It comes back into the Edmonton zone. And number 7 is Paul Coffey. The Oilers trailing 1-0. Nystrom steals it in on goal. Big save by Moog to hold Edmonton in the game. Nystrom was in alone. Now Gretzky back to Anderson. Moving in. To Gretzky, centered. That hit Potvin, bounced wide. Now Hughes trying to center it. Anderson shot it wide. Here's Gretzky behind the net. Trying to center. Potvin knocking it down. Gets help from Tonelli. Puck is still loose behind the Islander goal. Gretzky out in front, poked away, and Nystrom, with less than 2 minutes to play in the third period, comes to center and shoots it in.
If the Islanders do get shut out, these Oilers, Dan, will be the first time in over 2 years. It was March 81 by the Islanders, the last time that the Oilers were shut out in a hockey game.
Here's Dwayne Sutter back for New York, moving in, shoots, stick save by Andy Moog. Now Gretzky with 1.5 minutes left, couldn't clear it. The Oilers get it again, and Huddy feeds number 99, Gretzky. Trying to center it, Bob Bourne was there for New York. This pass to Dwayne Sutter was behind him. Into the Edmonton zone, and Greg feeds Messier. 1:12 left in regulation time. Messier to Gretzky, and the play is offside at the Islander blue line, and we're down to 1:08 left in regulation play. The Islanders leading 1-0.
Well, watch for Andy Moog. Glenn Sather, I'm sure, will be pulling him out of the nets very soon. 1:08 remaining. Perhaps even if they win that draw and gain possession of it deep in the Islanders' end zone, you may see Moog coming to the bench right away. The Islanders right now have called a timeout.
Here's Bob Nystrom's breakaway.
Well,
he stole the puck.
Coffey and Huddy, little miscommunication there, but Nystrom, he takes advantage of it. Great save by Moog. He has also played very well in net tonight. A real goaltender's battle tonight.
We still have 72 seconds to play in this, the first game of the series, and I can't wait for game 2. And if you feel the same way, then stay tuned to USA. We'll be back here on Thursday night live from the Northlands Coliseum. Game 2 begins at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, Thursday night.
Well, we just had a timeout. The clock shows 1:08 left in the third period. Shots on goal favor the Edmonton Oilers by a margin of 35-23 in this period. 9-5 the shots on goal favor Edmonton. But a guy by the name of Smith, who's done it before, looks like he's doing it again.
Well, you know, you always hate to talk about a shutout, a possible one, with just a few, well, 1:08 to go in this game, but it seems very realistic the way that Smith has played tonight. But look at this Oiler crew out there now. Messier, Gretzky, Anderson.
Here are the Oilers. Huddy for Edmonton, number 22, shooting it in. Moog is still in there. We're in the final minute of this period. Dennis Potvin for New York trying to clear it. Huddy knocking it down. Flips it in behind the goal. Dennis Potvin shooting it over on right wing, and Anders Keller is able to poke it to center. Trottier racing after it. Here's Trottier, tried to pass to Gillies, but Gillies was in ahead of the pass at the Edmonton blue line and offside, and we're down to 44 seconds left.
Well, one thing, Charlie Huddy seems to be all right as well tonight. Messier and Huddy both missed the last game of the Chicago series due to injuries. Huddy had really taken a jolt into the boards during that second last game in Chicago, has apparently wrenched his back. Glenn Sather right now, he's got to be wondering what has happened to all of his offense in tonight's first game.
Here are the Islanders winning the face-off, and Morrow puts it in. 40 seconds left in regulation time. 1-0 Islanders. Here are the Oilers with a quick pass to Gretzky at center. Here comes Moog to the bench. Now to Glenn Anderson. Center to Linsman. He couldn't get a stick on it. 6 attackers for Edmonton. Broken up, held in by Lumley to Coffey. Oh, and Gretzky just missed tipping it in. Now centered again. And Morrow for New York breaks out. Morrow with an empty net to shoot at. Scores! With 13 seconds left to sew it up for the Islanders after Gretzky, only moments before it, just missed tying it.
Kenny Morrow, the big, strong defensive defenseman for this Islander hockey club. The man that has seemingly, he's done it all. Won a gold medal in '80, won 3 Stanley Cups, and tonight he just helped put them away. Take a look at this chance that the Oilers had, though. They have had a number of chances. Wayne Gretzky right on the post, but watch this. Ken Morrow comes right out of his own end zone. Oiler on top of him, but he finds that empty net, steps over the red line too, Dan. Very smart play to avoid that icing and to avoid a face-off. Even if he didn't hit the net, he was going to make sure.
Kenny Morrow from Flint, Michigan, his first playoff goal, his third playoff goal, I should say. Into the empty net, and the puck is in the Oilers zone, stolen by Goring. Gregg then poked it away, and the game is over. And the Islanders congratulate Billy Smith on his 4th Stanley Cup playoff shutout and a miraculous performance. And the Islanders, with a 2-0 victory, take a 1-0 lead in this series, which augurs to be a classic. The Oilers in this period outshot the Islanders 9-6. In the game, Edmonton 35 shots, the Islanders 24. But Billy Smith with his 4th career playoff shutout, and goals from Dwayne Sutter and Ken Morrow, and the Islanders win the game 2-0 and lead the series 1-0.
For 8 hours a day, we're doing what we like doing. Can't beat that.
From cabarets and bistros around America, USA Hotspots continues to showcase the best nightclub entertainment anywhere. Tonight it's the sounds of Robert Hazard, direct from the Bijou in downtown Philadelphia. Following Hotspots, it's video music as host Lisa Robinson takes you through the world of USA's Radio 1990. Hotspots and Radio 1990. Tonight beginning at midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific, right here on USA. Certainly a dramatic game. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Championship of '83. It goes to the Islanders by a score of 2-0. That's the final here at the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta. But certainly it was truly a 1-0 game for all intents and purposes. Kenny Morrow made it 2-0, his 3rd of the playoffs, unassisted, an empty net goal with only 13 seconds remaining on the scoreboard clock here at the Northlands Coliseum. And truly the story of this game tonight was Billy Smith. He was absolutely perfect. It was just with sheer amazement that I watched in our studio here as the Edmonton Oilers peppered and peppered and peppered him again. And really, when you think about it, the Islanders' offense never got started in the 3rd period at all. It was non-existent. They sat back on their heels and turned everything back that Edmonton could throw at them. But throughout this game, as the Islanders tried to inspire themselves due to the absence of Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier was a shining star in this game, working both ends of the ice, really putting in more than 100% of effort. We go now to Gary Green and Dan Kelly upstairs.
Okay, Al Trudwig, a 2-0 Islander victory and a brilliant performance from Billy Smith. The shutout, as Gary mentioned, in the 3rd period. The first time the Oilers have been shut out since March of 1981. And the guy that did it that night Billy Smith and the New York Islanders. I guess he's the only guy that can do it to this high-scoring Edmonton club.
Do you think he might be the talk of the town and the continent tomorrow, Dan? He just played unbelievable. But what playoff hockey that was. If you want to talk about great playoff games in the past, I'm sure that tonight will go down in history as well as being one of the finest playoff games. And that is only the first game of the series. Look what we've got to look forward to.
The Oilers and Wayne Gretzky, with about 30 seconds to go, almost tied it up, and Gretzky just missed it at the edge of the crease. Edmonton lost the puck, and the Islanders' Morrow comes back and scores into the empty net. That's how close it was.
It really was. But, you know, something we talked about before the game, how much being off for a week might do. You think about things like skating and maybe your passing, but maybe since this Oiler hockey club are such a great shooting hockey club and a great scoring team, maybe they were most affected, Dan, by their eye for the net, because that was apparent tonight. Anderson, how many chances did he miss tonight? Gretzky missed opportunities. Again, don't take anything away from Billy Smith and the Islanders because they were superb. But again, I think the Oilers, perhaps in the next game, will be a little bit better at the sharp shooting department than they were tonight.
And the Islanders, remember, did this without Mike Bossy, their big scorer. We talked a lot about Billy Smith, another guy that played his heart out both ends of the rink. Brian Trottier, the great center iceman with the Islanders. He's down in our USA studio with Al Trotwick.
Well, Dan Kelly, the key word for number 19 of the Islanders is fatigue. It is a very tired Brian Trottier that sits next to me, but I'm sure the elation of winning Game 1 supersedes those feelings of fatigue.
Isn't that the truth, boy? There's nothing like a victory to take away all the hurts and sores. They're a great hockey team. They stormed us all night long. They have nothing to be embarrassed about. We were holding on, and believe me, that's exactly what we're doing. Smitty made some great saves. They missed some great opportunities. Right towards the end there, Bobby Nye walks in on a breakaway, and you look at the chance maybe Tonelli might have had, but you know, you just can't say enough about our defensemen. They were tipping pucks, deflecting pucks, just clearing pucks out from in front of the net, and Smitty was making the big save. Bang, we'd get the rebound off into the corner. And I tell you, I don't want to play any more like this. I'd rather be up 2 or 3 goals rather than those 1-goal leads there.
Your work rate tonight was amazing. I mean, you were in every play that you were on the ice, at both ends of the ice.
It just seemed like the puck was in our end most of the night, and you know, there's sometimes where, you know, I'm a little bit tired, but Al wants me out there for the draw, so I'll stay out there, and it ends up like, you know, if they end up keeping the puck in there, it just goes out over our blue line and right back in our zone. I can't get off the ice, so I end up staying out there longer than really I want to, Al wants to, and because it takes away from the flow of the line changes a little bit, and we don't like that. I'd rather get right off the ice and keep everybody going.
Brian, coming into this series, you knew that you would have to slow down this fast skating Edmonton Oiler offense, and while they had their opportunities, certainly you and Billy Smith and the entire Islander team knows that, they were also able to shut down the Islander offense. It never seemed to get going. Why did that happen?
I don't know. I'm just happy.
It's a good question, isn't it?
I'm just happy it worked out that way. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, to stop and think right offhand, you can't think of it. I mean, defensively, you can't even start.
In the game, there were so many chances for the Edmonton Oilers to score. In the last minute, they had a period's worth of chances. Did you see frustration on their faces? Did they seem to be losing it at all in any part of the game, or did their overriding confidence just prevail throughout the game?
Well, I don't know. You know, there was a couple chances in front of the net, you know, where they're so smooth and they're so smart with the puck, where it looked like they were jumping on it a little bit, you know, and that happens a little bit. You know, you're anxious, you're eager, and you're over ready sometimes. You jump on a little sooner than you should have rather than take your time. And there's other times where if you would have jumped on it rather than taking your time, you might have, so you don't know. You know, those are things that during the game, you know, you reflect and you say, well, now I'm going to learn from that. And believe me, they're going to be a lot smarter hockey team next game. And I tell you, we're just, you know, it's going to be tough.
This is the second time in the playoffs that the Islanders have received bad news the day of a game. At least it was the day of the game as far as everyone here was concerned. It was first you in the early series when everyone said, oh, Brian Trottier's not going to play, and all of a sudden the Islanders responded with a fantastic game. They really played their hearts out. And tonight I think we saw very much the same thing as Mike Bossy was not able to play.
Well, Mike more or less is a big reason why we're here in the finals. You know, it was his effort in the last game against Boston. I mean, 4 goals. You know, that was enough of incentive for the players to go out there and work their hearts out for him. You know, he's dying to play. He didn't want to sit out. but we need them strong and healthy for this series, and we don't want one game tonight to you know, wear them out for the rest of the series. You know, it was a smart move by management, and you know, they've been around a long time. They see how things work, and you know, the guys were able to come up with a great effort tonight. It worked out in our favor, and hopefully Mike will be back in the lineup on Thursday.
Well, it was hot in that arena tonight, and a cold shower is going to feel good. Our Stanley Cup star tonight for Brian Trottier of the New York Islanders, 2-0 winners. Thanks very much, Brian.
Al, I'd just like to say hello to my family back home in New York if they're watching.
I'm sure they are. For being our Stanley Cup star, Brian Trottier will receive a quartz analog watch by Timex, the MVP in watches. Timex believes that precision timekeeping and great design are not expensive, just rare. Timex, we make technology beautiful. And from Norelco, this close-shaving Norelco Rotatract razor. It shaves you as close as a blade without the nicks and cuts. The Rotatract razor, tough on your beard, not on your face. It trims mustaches, and it's from Norelco. As an added gift, here's Ice Hockey by Activision, one of the hardest-hitting, toughest video games for your Atari 2600. Congratulations to Brian Trottier, and if you want to make it official, you can say hi to who's watching now.
Nikki, Brian Jr., Monty, and Lindsay, if she's still up. I think she's sleeping now.
All right, it's time to go to bed. It's been a long night for the Islanders and for the Oilers as well, a frustrating night for them. But the Islanders prevail with a convincing defensive performance by the score of 2-0. That's the story from Edmonton. Tonight's game has been brought to you by Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. By Mobile Detergent Gasoline for your everyday driving needs. By Toyota, who reminds you it's a good feeling to buckle up for safety. And by Levi's Menswear, makers of Levi's Action Slacks. Remember, Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals is right back here at the Northlands Coliseum Thursday night, beginning at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on USA. But for now, for Dan Kelly and Gary Green, this is Al Trawick saying good night from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The executive producer for USA Sports is Jim Srake. Tonight's game produced by Mark D. Stolberger. And our director, Larry Brown. Our associate producer, Brian Williams. And our production coordinator, Barbara Travers. This has been a sports presentation of the USA Network.
The sound of Philadelphia from Bobby Rydell.